Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy. Also joining us today is Brandon Gaines, special guest of the show. Brandon, how are you this afternoon or evening, might I say?
Been great. This has been 5 years in the making. I actually started listening to your material back when SoundCloud was very popular.
I have a quick question now. Do you remember when TJ said that that Anders Lee is a better player than Patrick Kane?
This right here, you're trying
I think,
to
I think a few years back. I think a few years back, yes, but I don't know how long of a discussion it was on.
Thank you.
I believe that discussion was worded as who was more important to the Islanders that season, but you just try to mischaracterize it. That's okay, Grumpy. It's lost in the
Here we have someone
of SoundCloud.
Actually, one of your friends coming out, listened during the SoundCloud days, verified what I said all those years ago. Everyone now has heard it. Everyone knew. Everyone knew you were lying.
It was a while ago. It was a long time ago. But in terms of like team importance, and people were making that case. I still think Patrick Kane's more important for Chicago than Lee is for us by a country mile.
Well, he thought that Patrick Kane, that Anders Lee would have been more important for the Islanders than if Patrick Kane came here.
I think. Let me clarify. No, okay, that's not even what I said.
That's exactly what you said.
You know what? Actually, I think Anders Lee's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Patrick Kane might be lucky to go ahead and sniff. I don't know, any type of hardware grump. I think that Anders Lee's the first ballot guy.
That's why we don't.
Andrew can't hold his jockstrap. Wayne Gretzky, not even close, Grumpy. Okay, is that what you like, Grump? Is that what you like? You do this shit all the time.
That's why we say you're not the NHL analyst and expert.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Grump, I swear. I almost want to pay the fee just so I can open up those like 100 of episodes that were lost in the SoundCloud and Ether, just so I can pull it up to end that conversation once and for all. But I haven't gotten to that point just quite yet, Grump. But for those of you who are new to the show, welcome.
This is called third-party verification. We just have it right here. For those who wind up, losing their account on something, they say, "Oh, third-party verification." This is it right here. Thank you very much.
Third party. I want double authentication, Grumpy, so I need another member to go ahead and say that as well.
Brandon, what else have you been up to? I'm sorry, I know I kind of jumped in, but I had to. What else you been up to? What else are you doing? How can we help you?
Well, I was watching the Mets game, but after the first inning, I'm like, okay, Josh Bailey literally cursed the team. It's a good thing the Braves lost today, but Mets didn't lose any ground really. But and got back here around 7:30, put on the special Matty and the Jags shirt.
There you go.
Yeah, Grump. Matty and the Jags. Look at that, Grump. The Islanders never say die merchandise. You gotta love it. Oh, man. I know today we've got a lot to talk about. There were some statements made by members of the team, statements made by new head coach Lane Lambert about the chip on the shoulder of the New York Islanders. We'll talk about, we'll discuss, we'll take a little bit of a dive. Do we see the huge jump? I know Brandon and I have talked, and even I think he's talked with you about this too, Grumpy. He does expect, right, Anthony Beauvillier, and correct me if I'm wrong here on this. You think that Anthony Beauvillier could take that step forward there based off of the production he had that rookie year if he's able to reignite that same exact chemistry he had with Matt Barzal?
Well, under the past 4 years. Right. So here's the one thing that baffled me. When Trotz took over, you expected a more disciplined 200-foot game mindset compared to Doug Weight. That doesn't mean, though, that you should deviate from an offensive standpoint what worked in your lineup. To be fair, early on, Anthony Beauvillier was playing with Matt Barzal for like a cup of coffee. But every time Anthony Beauvillier played with Barzal, who was on the opposite wing? Josh frickin' Bailey. Which literally canceled out what the point of that line was supposed to be. Your playmaker is Barzal. You don't need another playmaker who's a slower skater on the opposite end, which cancels out what the line's supposed to bring. They're supposed to bring possession, drive, and attack. You don't need primarily one player to do that. Eberle was great on the attacking side, on the right side, as was Beauvillier. And they were competent skaters, which matched Barzell's speed in the attacking zone. Bailey can't do that. And the mindset is that, oh, you want to spread the wealth. Who cares? You figure out other ways to make that work. You don't take away. It's like when Trotz broke up Pelican Pollock this year. You don't subtract from something that works. You don't do that. And but there's no reason why Beauvillier should not be playing with Barzell next year. No reason whatsoever.
And we'll take a deep dive into it for certain. And I think you bring up some valid points. But general housekeeping items, I've always got to go ahead and bring up, Grumpy, before we start the show. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a twice-a-week Islanders podcast that happens every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll be happy to know that the reason we ran slightly late today is because the grumpy old man, actually, he was the last one to the party. Isn't that right, Grump?
Actually, I was on before you were.
Oh, bullshit.
Brandon was on first. I came on second. Then you meandered over.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but if you're new to the show, we invite you to stick around a while. We invite you to subscribe on YouTube, to like on Facebook, and to follow on Twitter. We also have a second podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's an all sports podcast where we talk NFL, MLB, NBA, college athletics, European football. We talk anything and everything sports. That takes place every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find it in the link in the description below, or you can find it as a featured page here on our YouTube channel called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. What are you doing that for, Grumpy? You're going for?
Because you're never on time.
Oh, man.
You're not.
Grump. You know, there's no pleasing the grumpy old man. And that's
Show
kind
up
of
on time.
Oh.
Show up on time. You know, it's funny. I was talking with the warden today, and she mentioned how, you know, the workplace has changed. You know, this work-life balance thing that the young people don't want to work. They only want to work their 40 hours. They're salaried employees, but they only want to work that 40, right? And she's, you know, she's struggling with that because she's like an old timer. And I said, you know, your son is just like that. He doesn't want to start on time. He wants to leave early. I mean, he's got his own issues, this kid.
Oh, man. Crump, now, Brandon mentioned this at the top of the hour. Did you see Josh Bailey? He threw out Josh Bailey threw out the first pitch for the New York Mets. And is it apropos or what that the Mets right now are getting spanked?
Did he get booed? Let's see.
Forward, Josh Bailey.
Actually sounds like
a little booing. A little bit of booing. I hear it.
Why is he not on the mound?
Because he's a bitch. Can't reach.
He was doing those warm-up throws. Boom.
High and inside.
Yeah, high and inside.
Come
that was
on.
right over the plate, Grumpy. Come on.
No, it wasn't over the plate.
Give
it was not over the plate.
Some credit. Come on.
Okay, look here. The catcher's down in his stance. Look what he has to do. I want you to look at this. Is he in his stance when he comes over? No, he's got to stand up and move out. It's almost like it's an intentional walk. Isn't that typical Josh Bailey? He throws it. Look at that. Come on.
I think that was right over the heart of the plate. That's all I got to say about that, Grump. Yeah.
Why the Mets are losing.
Oh, God. Yeah, the Mets are.
Why would they bring Josh Bailey out? Is it loser night at City Park? What is it?
No, Grumpy. It's because they brought Ledecky out. He had his big smiles on. We believe in the team, all that good stuff. I think Scott Mayfield was there, Adam Pellick, a whole bunch of New York Islanders were there, Grumpy.
But Josh Bailey had to go to the women's tee to throw that pitch in.
Hey, you know what? At least it was better than 50 Cent when he threw that. My God, nothing I think will ever compare to how miserable.
In 50 Cent's defense, he's not supposedly an athlete like Josh Bailey pretends to be.
Oh, stop. Oh, no.
He didn't go like this. He didn't throw like that. Maybe he did.
I want to talk a little bit about the Islanders and what they had to say about this upcoming season. Right?
I'll say one thing. I could throw a better first pitch than Josh Bailey. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. Left-handed or right-handed. With the torn rotator cuff, I could still throw better than him.
Grumpy, how fast are you throwing? 110? What are you up to these days?
But I put the ball over the plate.
Oh, good.
And not from 25 feet like he did. It was 45. It wasn't 25. It was 45.
Oh, Grumpy, come on. We do have a little bit of Islanders news for the first time in a while, which
since we got eliminated from the playoffs.
No, we didn't get eliminated from the playoffs. Stop.
No, I said since we were eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, sure. Since we were eliminated from the playoffs, sure, that works well. Now we've got there Scott Mayfield was talking about, what we thought of the last season, what we thought of the last 3 years. Mayfield again, and you see this is pretty much the thought process of all Islanders, and we'll kind of ask, whether this makes you confident in this year or a little apprehensive. But Mayfield says the last 3 seasons, the first 2 were legit Islanders, were the legit Islanders, and the last year was not. I think that's what we have to prove. We have to show that we are a contender, Grump.
Okay. What do you expect him to say? We sucked last year. That's our path. I mean, that's not what he's going to say. I mean, it's his last year with the team, right? He won't be back. I think that's what they have to prove. I mean, he was straight up about it. They have to prove it this year. I agree.
Fair enough.
When you play poorly and you're an older team, you have to prove it. You can't say, "Oh, it's just a blip." Can't say that.
What are your thoughts on that, Brandon? Talking about the Islanders, the players seem to think, right, this is a time period where last year was an aberration. It's not what to expect going forward. I mean, is that kind of the same thought process you share? And again, it seems like a lot of players are quote unquote playing with a chip on their shoulder this year.
They should be. They should be thinking that, given the expectations that they got last year, from the media, the league. Teams were like, Athletic was picking the Islanders as like a cup contender last year. In terms of how they were used, that wasn't the case. In terms of, how certain players performed, how, and let's be fair here. Back in December, I preached for Barry Trotz to get fired, because I knew that a lot of these mistakes that were being made, like not utilizing other players properly, breaking up Pellick and Pollock, not putting Beauvillier with Barzell, not utilizing Kiefer Bellows and Wallstrom properly, not utilizing Salo or Dobson 5-on-5 properly. Many things that the team did, the organization did, literally shot them in the foot repeatedly. And the team basically has to say, like, hey, that's not us. When we're put in the proper position to succeed, we'll succeed. But we feel like that wasn't the case for us, and we need to prove it. So, like, it's a generic response from Mayfield. Any Islanders player should be saying that, because you can't say, like, oh, we're going to be mediocre, we're going to suck next year. Of course they're going to say, like, hey, we have to prove that we're contenders. I don't expect anything less.
Yeah, and I guess now, that's kind of what we expect them to come out and say, just as you'd mentioned. Do you actually think that is the case, right? This offseason we've talked about has been underwhelming, right, by most standpoints here. Just kind of want your opinions going into the season. And Grump, I'll even get yours too, right? We're getting close, right? Preseason is right around the corner. We don't have a show this Saturday, so this is... Yeah. Oh, I totally forgot to mention that during the housekeeping on it. Yeah, we're not having a show this Saturday. Sorry, guys. But we will be back this next Wednesday. And I mean, like, we're right around the time period where we start talking season expectations, what you expect not only from the team but for players as well. I mean, like, what are your expectations going into this year? I'll give Grumpy this one first to give Brandon a second there to collect himself. I don't want to put him so much on the spot immediately.
Realistically, you're hoping the team can compete for a playoff spot. You've done nothing to improve your team, really. All right, brought in Romanov. Addition by subtraction with Chara and Green being gone. Still don't know who's going to be the bottom pairing defenseman with Scott Mayfield. So let's say we improve defensively. Maybe we compete for a playoff spot. But, I mean, I don't expect us to go much further than that. Still have the ever-present issue of not being able to put pucks in the net. I mean, even when we were great defensively under Barry Trotz, we were still bottom third of the league in scoring. It's just, it's not like it's all system. It's a lack of talent.
Well, let me ask you this, Grump. You had mentioned that, that's the best case scenario. What do you realistically expect from the Islanders? Are we, and I feel like maybe you've kind of teetered on this a tiny bit this offseason. Do you feel like we are going to be in a playoff position come the trade deadline or come the end of the year?
I think we'll be close, but I think we're going to come in 9th. But the fan in me wants us to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Everyone, you hear people saying, well, this guy's going to step up. This guy's going to step up. This guy's going to step up. There's a lot of stepping going on, but most of it's going downhill in the form of regression. Older players. I don't know.
So you think, right, ideally, you'll have, in all likelihood, the Carolina Hurricanes will be ahead of us in the division. You think the Rangers are going to take a step back this next year?
They're going to take a 35 point step back? I don't think so.
Well, it's got to be 36, first off, Grumpy. Okay. Second off, I mean, like I think it's reasonable to expect the Islanders to have a better record this year than last year. By how many points? I don't think it's a substantial margin, but I think it can be reasonable to expect the Islanders to have more than 84 points on the year.
Yeah, maybe 92.
Okay, I mean, like 94 is that magic number really that you're looking for? That guarantees you a spot really in the playoffs in the postseason.
It wouldn't have made it last year.
What was it? 100 points for Washington?
100 points. 100 points. And what did Washington lose? I think they lost their last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost their last 4 games.
Yeah, it's like, they had that thing sewn up in November.
But most times, right? I'm just talking most times. The likelihood of it being such a huge disparity between the haves and the have-nots this year, I would like to say probably won't be the case because it's not always the case. But you think we're going to be on the outside looking in then, Grump. You think we're finishing 9th in the conference. Who do you think's finishing above us? You've got, I'm probably sure, Carolina. You've got, who's it? I think we've discussed. You
Rangers, Pittsburgh, and Washington.
So I think Washington is a team we have a chance to overtake if we're looking at it in this division.
Maybe. Columbus was only 4 points behind us. Should they say that they're a playoff team?
I think you can argue that Columbus. I just like in net. I think net is the only issue.
Most people are just dismissing Columbus and saying the Islanders are going. Well, at least the people we talk to, Islanders are going to make plays. Columbus has no shot. There was only a 4-point difference between us and them.
Yeah, I think defending wise, they struggle a little bit on the defensive side of the puck, and I think in net is the biggest issue for them. I think offensively, they're a much more talented team than us. But you're thinking we're on the outside looking in then, Grump, huh?
I think so. It'll be close. I think it'll be closer than last year, but you have to have big regression from Washington, big improvement from us. A lot of ifs, ands, and buts, and a bag of nuts to make it happen.
Brandon, kind of want your take on it too. Where do you think we're finishing here this year? What's the expectation? As fans, right, we all want playoffs. Anything less is a disappointment. What realistic expectations do you have? Do you think we're a playoff caliber team?
If utilized properly, I absolutely do. Here's the thing, though. The Islanders finished with 84 points. Now, my question is, and I answered this to myself, why did they finish with 84 points? There was many, many reasons why the Islanders finished where they were. Few things out of their control, few things well within their control, and just botched it up. The stuff that was out of their control, obviously, the 3 COVID outbreaks and the Ryan Pollock injury for over 2 months. That stuff like that, that's out of their control. And you can make a case that due to the absence of like your defense from COVID and your top 6 and Barzal being out for a few games from COVID and Nelson being out for a couple games for COVID when he came back from his injury, you could make a case that was probably like a 10-point difference. However, that's not the only problem that the Islanders had. The issue, in my opinion, and I addressed this earlier, was the coaching in terms of how the group was utilized. Like, how do lines of Lee, Barzal, and Palmieri, or Lee, Barzal, Bailey, how does that make sense for our first line? How does it make sense? Then you have Chara paired with Dobson. You break up Pellick and Pollock to cater to Chara, which that alone is baffling. You don't utilize, you don't give Kiefer Bellows his proper time. And he took a huge step forward this past season. He was nearly a half a point a game player. And then when Trotz came back, following Lambert's short head coaching run, what happened? Thrown on the first line too soon, and then put on his offside on Nelson's line. Just complete botch after botch after botch. Playing Char and Green above Robin Salo. Not playing Beauvillier with Barzell, not utilizing Beauvillier, Barzell, and Palmieri properly on the power play. So many frustrating pull your hair out actions that Barry Trotz made, in my opinion, sunk them. And you have to hope that Lambert can remedy that.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, like, what's right? And I'd like to think that it's an easy fix too regarding line combinations, right? I'd like to be able to think that even sitting at home on the couch, I could say realistically, yes, it's very easy to notice that Anders Lee and Matt Barzal are like water and oil. It doesn't mix well. And that certain players, he kind of fine tunes and allows them to play the best of their abilities, and certain players help bring out the best of Matt Barzal's abilities. But I mean, like, do we really think it's that simple? You know what I mean? Like, I'll play devil's advocate here just to do it. I mean, Barry Trotz and Lane Lambert, all those guys are with the players in the team 24/7. They know, and I'm sure they've tried other items out there at practice before. And, I just wonder if it's going to be as simple as, hey, with the new head coach, we're going to see a lot of change on the forward group and a lot of change regarding line combinations that's going to help us out. Or are we going to see more of a same or similar? Right. I mean, it's the unknown. It's the unknown quantity in the room.
I think.
Oh, well, go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead.
Well, I think even though it was for like a cup of coffee, you could see during the games that Bellows was playing, he looked a lot more comfortable in his play under Lambert than he did when Trotz came back. And, giving him that 1 year of 1.2 million, says to me that, hey, they want to give this guy a legitimate opportunity. They feel like he never consistently got that under Barry. I believe he's only 24, if I'm not mistaken. He's not like he's 29 or anything like that. He's played less than 70 NHL games. He hasn't even cracked the 100-game mark yet. So if you're giving him 1 year, and I believe his qualifying offer is the same amount of money, if I'm not mistaken, your goal is to at least give him some proper ice time, to at least showcase him, or at least, hey, let's see if you can stick with this team long term.
I think I'm hesitant to believe that he's going to throw out the old guard immediately for the new. And I'm not sure how long it'll take for something like that to happen, because realistically, this is a guy who's got those same relations with players. I think that Bellows did play better under Lane Lambert than he did under Barry Trotz. And I think a lot of the younger players did. But, I'm a little hesitant to believe that we're going to immediately throw out the old guard for the new. And I think that we do need to start integrating in some of the younger, fresher legs in the lineup. I'm just not sure how quick it will happen and to what extent will happen, Grump.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It took Barry Trotz 3.5 years to realize that Anders Lee wasn't a good fit for Matt Barzal. 3.5 years it took him. Maybe Lane Lambert saw it earlier. Maybe he let Lou Lamoriello know. I don't know. I'm going to say you're going to see, particularly in preseason, you're going to see those lines go in the blender. I mean, it's not like we added anyone new to energize the offense, so you're going to have to make do with what you had. And, I mean, I think our offense looked dysfunctional at best. What I don't want to see really is an over-reliance on Zach Parise, because, okay, he was good getting 14 and a half minutes a game. What if he's playing 18 at 38 years old? Can you really trust him on the first line? I don't think you can. Not long-term. That's why I've been a proponent of Anthony Beauvillier moving him up.
I think we've got to have players who are the same skating caliber of a guy like Matt Barzal. I'm sorry. And it's the reason why I'm hesitant to immediately say, yeah, Oliver Wahlstrom and him are going to be immediate mixes, on that first line. I don't think they're going to give him that chance. I think he starts off on the third line. I think, for the most part, we're in a situation where that opening day lineup is probably going to, I'd like to see an Anthony Beauvillier, Kyle Palmieri mixed there with Matt Barzal.
For me, it would work, because Palmieri he had really good underlying numbers when he played in his short spurts with Barzal during the 2021 playoffs. But, when Trotz put Palmieri with Barzal this year, it was either Parise or Anders Lee on the opposite side, which, again, killed the point of what the first line was supposed to be. You're supposed to have two players who can drive, and you're supposed to have a good skater who is an attacker. Palmieri's he's not like a speedy Gonzalez, but he's a much better freaking skater than Lee. easily. And when you have Lee on the opposite side, it cancels out what the line's supposed to be because Palmieri isn't a driver like Eberle was. Knowing that, Beauvillier should be on the opposite side, helping Barzal drive that line so Palmieri can attack more. But, Trotz is going to Trotz. He got to stick with his vets.
God almighty.
Well, let's say you have a Beauvillier with Barzal and Palmieri line. What's your second line? I guess you have to go Nelson.
A non-skate line. Anders Lee, Nelson, and Wallstrom.
Well, you're not going to see Wallstrom on that line. I don't think you can see Wallstrom.
You think we're going to see Bailey on the line?
I think you'd see Bailey.
They do have like that line. What that used to be the kid line. How many years ago, Grumpy? Now, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, I feel like.
But they've always played well together. Always, they've had a chemistry. Bailey won't shoot. He's certainly going to pass. Nelson's not a creator. Neither is Anders Lee. That's why I don't think you put Wallstrom on that line. I don't think you can.
I think Wallstrom could be on the third line.
I mean, but what does it do for Kiefer Bellows?
Kiefer Bellows doesn't have a spot, unfortunately. I don't think that when I said I don't know how prone they're going to be to change guard or to change anything up. Lane Lambert's not going to come in here and freaking opening night. We've got a whole bunch of different combinations that we didn't see out there on the ice last year. I mean, just don't expect that. I would be shocked if that was the case.
I disagree.
Yeah, go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, if I can interject. So Doug Waite, this is for a better or worse scenario. Doug Waite, I believe, was the Jack Capuano's assistant coach for over 4 years. And when Jack Capuano, the year he got fired, Barzal played for only 2 games. 2 games, and then sent back to Seattle. Where was Barzal when Doug Waite took over as the full-time coach? Right on the second line, above Brock Nelson. Barzal was given that second line center spot. Now, mind you, he wasn't playing with the best players, Andrew Ladd and Josh Bailey, but he was given a legitimate shot to grow his game and succeed, and he won the freaking Calder for it. So just because Lane Lambert worked under Trotz for a good amount of time doesn't mean he's going to stick with the same ideologies, the same lineup mindset. I think it's open game for anybody, really.
I think regarding the Matt Barzal situation, Matt Barzal, even his rookie year, was head over heels better than a guy like Brock Nelson regarding creativity. And I think he fit what Doug Waite wanted to do more than Brock Nelson did. Doug Waite wanted that high-flying, offensive, heavy forecheck style, and Matt Barzal is a key fit for that, where Brock Nelson, in reality, probably doesn't mesh too well with the system. That's why I think they kind of had started off like that. And it comes down to, what are we expecting out of Lane Lambert? We saw him in a shortened abridged 3 or 4 game stretch where he was the coach. They're not going to upset the apple cart too much. They're going to keep things pretty much status quo, but he did try different line combinations out there. But again, we had a lot of COVID issues at the time frame. I just am not sure what we expect of a chance to be given to a guy like Kiefer Bellows. I think he kind of is what he is. I'd wish he'd get a chance. I just am not sure where. Who sits? You want to know who should sit? The guys who aren't performing, regardless of salary. So
Matt Martin.
He shouldn't play at all. I don't think he will play. I don't think he will
either. But he should sit. Absolutely.
It has to be a top 6 guy who sits if Kiefer Bellows is going to play. I don't want Kiefer Bellows on the 4th line. It's not a skill set. So for me, you know what? The best thing Lane Lambert can do is go in there and say, you know what, fellas? All the names are in a blend. Everything's in a hat right here. Whoever looks the best is going to play. I don't care if you're the captain of the team, if you've been here 993 games, if you played great under Barry Trotz, if you used to play pinochle with Lou Lamoriello when you're with the Devils. It doesn't matter. Best players are going to play here. You know what that does? Competition makes everybody better. Makes everyone better. When you the biggest issue I feel we've had the last couple of years and why we look lackluster a lot of the times, particularly last year, is everyone knew from day one who the starters are, who the guys are going to sit on the bench, and that's not conducive to win. I don't think it's conducive to getting the most out of players. Put their feet to the fire a little bit.
I guess he's skeptical as to, and here's the thing. right? I know that just because you're an assistant coach or just because you're next in line doesn't mean that you goose step and you take everything that Barry Trotz did, as scripture per se. But I don't know. I'm fearful that we will see similar line combinations, maybe with tweaks here and there that will help. I'm not expecting much from a guy like Kiefer Bellows. I still think they have an infatuation and love for Matt Martin, which is unfortunate. I think he's cashed. Like Ross Johnson's okay. He's, doable in that fourth line. They're not going to sit any of the left wings except maybe a fourth liner for Kiefer Bellows. That's kind of what you're looking at. We've talked about what is Kiefer Bellows's what is his skill set. It's not that of a fourth line grinder. He's a guy who is more of a, hey, I'm a top six or a middle six guy who provides a little bit of a scoring streak every once in a while. He's not a guy that you put on the fourth line and say, hey, we're going to need you to step up. We're going to need you to kill penalties. We're going to need you to bust it, play a 200-foot game. We're going to need you to really do a great job back checking. That's just not, it's not what strikes me as Kiefer Bellows' strong suit.
If Lane Lambert wants to put his stamp on the Islanders, he's not going to change the system. He might tweak it. He's not going to change it. He's seen what's been successful. He's been a Barry Trotz protege for over a decade, right? You want to put your stamp on the team. You don't just roll out the same guys. Oh, well, Matt Barzal, just because you've been the number one center, if you're not producing, you're going to sit. And it doesn't matter who it is. If you produce, you play. If you don't, you sit. And that everyone will pick their game up. Everyone. And then you'll find who the best players are. There should be absolutely no consideration given to what you've done for the team previously. Absolutely not. Not after the season they had last year.
Nope. And that's actually a very positive aspect that Dean Evison has for Minnesota. It doesn't matter if you're Zach Parise and you've played so long in Minnesota. If other youthful players are outperforming you, hey, you're going to play on the bottom six. It doesn't matter how much money you make or how long you make. Like, that should not justify playing time. Yeah. And I don't think for Barry Trotz, I don't think money is what drove him to play the vets. I just think Trotz, he's not comfortable when it comes to playing raw, untapped potential players. He sticks with what's comfortable to him. And when players like Lee and Bailey have peaked in their roles, you have to adapt. You have to be willing to take risks without being forced to do so by injuries. And Minnesota, look at Matt Boldy. Matt Boldy's a point-a-game player. He's on the second line already. He's thriving in his role. Robert Thomas in St. Louis under Craig Berube just got a big payday, rightfully so, by the way. Here, he deserves every little penny that he's getting right now. He was given legitimate opportunities over players like Alexander Steen, who was making over $5 million change. Money and experience should not matter when it comes to utilizing players. If you have higher potential, you get the minutes. Bottom line. And that's something Trotz did not do this year, and it bit him in the ass this year. And as a result, it cost him. And you hope Lambert's the opposite of that. You hope Lambert does the exact opposite.
I hope so. And again, ideally, I'd like to say I think the player relations. I think that he cannot possibly be worse with younger players than Barry Trotz. That being said, maybe he doesn't have the same exact connection with some of the older guys. I have no idea, right? That's just complete punt. I just think there's no way he could be worse with handling younger players and younger talent than Barry Trotz. And I think Trotz, just as you'd mentioned, he's a guy who'd rather take, I'm a consistently average or possibly below average NHLer, but I'm consistent, as opposed to I'm a guy who can either be Icarus, where I fly too close to the sun and I burn up, or I'm doing great and I'm killing it and I'm firing on all cylinders. That's kind of what younger guys bring to the table, right? They're going to have some games where they're unbelievably on fire. They're doing everything right, shift after shift. Things look great. They're going to have time periods where they struggle. Yep, the ebbs and flows of the season. The highs are higher and the lows are lower for those younger guys.
Without a doubt. I mean, I want to touch on it since Brandon mentioned Robert Thomas. Kyrou just signed an identical 8-year contract extension.
The exact AAV, if I'm not mistaken.
Everything exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, that is the way that the NHL is going.
That's why it pissed me off that we only signed Noah Dobson to a bridge deal. Every other freaking organization does that, and we are the last ones to catch on.
Not all the teams do it. Tampa bridged Cirelli, they bridged Sergachev, and they bridged Braden Point.
The reason they bridge those players is because they have so much cap tied up into Hall of Fame caliber players. We don't have cap tied into any player of that ilk and category. For the teams where it says, "Hey, I don't have a first ballot Hall of Famer," they're for the most part signing those younger players. The amount of teams who have adopted we need to sign younger players who show the promise to a long-term deal and pay more on the front end and less on the back end, that's continuing to grow and grow and grow.
So are you not a fan of the Romanov bridge in that case?
Well,
Romanov,
he's a guy who I'd be honest with you, I can't tell you I know much about his game and style offensively, right? I could see the highlights. I could see what he does defensively. I could see what he does in transition with the puck. I could see the physicality he brings. But regarding, right, they say he offensively is untapped. I can't tell you I've watched too many plays to where, he's just kind of beep-bopping around in the zone, not creating. I'm not going to watch film on that just quite yet. I'll wait until the season rolls out. I'm not sure what else he brings offensively, to be quite frank. If he's a guy who's solely going to be, I've kind of tapped out. I'm just going to be a guy really who's a defensive defenseman who can put up points occasionally based off of the players who are around me. That's not a guy you throw a huge contract at, because just like we saw with Adam Pelech, right? Guys who are focused as a defensive defenseman, unfortunately, just do not get paid the same as much as guys who can put up points.
Scoring goals is what matters the most. And Brandon, I'm going to go back at you a little bit on what you're saying about Tampa Bay. They didn't give bridge deals to here's the thing. They might have initially given them bridge deals.
Yeah, initially.
But way before those deals were up, they signed them to extensions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're still on the bridge deal, but they already have 8-year extensions followed up. Mm-hmm. That's not something we would ever do. We're never proactive in signing guys like, okay, we could have signed Matt Barzal last year or 2 years ago. We could have signed, well, I guess it was a 3-year deal. We could have signed him last offseason to an 8-year extension. We don't even approach it that way. We would let everybody get to unrestricted free agency before we make a move. That's when you wind up overpaying players. If you see guys are producing, you go to the table early, you give them more than they should have made, as opposed to doing these little short bridges that get you right up to free agency, then you're going to pay through the nose. I mean, I like I said, for me, I love the Tampa Bay model. How can they afford this guy?
We need to find how many Hall of Fame caliber players in the second and the third rounds. It was just like, I loved the Detroit model back when they were a freaking unbelievable franchise, when they find guys like Datsuk and Zetterberg late in the draft.
I mean, I'm just looking at Braden Point, right? Right now at 26, now he's on his $9.5 million extension deal. I mean, and that goes for another, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years left on that deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
you're going to catch him throughout the prime of his career until he's 32.
Through the whole prime of his career. And the same thing with Sergachev, right? He's still on his bridge deal.
Yeah, he's got 1 year left.
He's got 1 more year left in his bridge deal. Then his big deal comes through. Same thing with Zernak. I'm sorry, Zernak, the same thing. He's on his bridge deal now at 2.95, and then he goes for 5.2. I mean, and the same thing with Cirelli. Same exact thing. They're just proactive. There's something to be said for being proactive.
You had mentioned about Matt Barzal. I know Matt Barzal is not eligible to be signing to that longer term contract or that.
No, he is.
He is. Sure,
he is right now. Right now, he is.
Now he is. That's correct.
Yeah, now he is. Yeah, now he is.
I'm just saying, last offseason he wasn't. Like, I'm just saying, when you have like a guy like Noah Dobson who comes up and says, "Hey, I'm a restricted free agent here at the moment." And here's the thing: defensemen, generally speaking, have a longer shelf life than forwards do. If you're a guy who's a defenseman who's very positionally aware, and you're a guy who's bigger and you get away with more of your physical attributes, you can last a little longer in the league than a guy who's a forward who maybe has to, who's predicated his game based off of skating and items of that nature and elusiveness. As you get to that point where you get older, you're just not able to skate as quick. You're not as elusive. You're a defenseman. Hey, I can be positionally aware. If I'm a bigger body, it can last a little longer. But for a lot of these models, we're seeing guys who are, young in their young or mid-20s signing these huge 8-year contracts. The only thing I worry about those bridge deals is you say, hey, now when you're 26 or now when you're 27, time to give you that huge 8-year contract. And it leaves teams are trying to move away from saying when a guy turns 27, 28, we want to sign in this huge extension. That's at least what I've noticed here over the last little bit. It's not going to be like, hey, every single contract is like that, but that used to be something we never saw in the NHL. Toronto was the first team to start doing that, if I'm correct on that, and we've seen it's kind of followed suit. A lot of teams followed suit
because you're paying today's prices for tomorrow's production. You're taking a little bit of risk, saying, can the player improve? But if a player does pan out, the Stoltzer contract, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if he pans out, you got yourself a bargain in the long run. In the long run, you don't have to worry about him. When the salary cap goes up, he's locked in. These guys, same thing with Tampa. All these guys, they're up against the cap. Okay, the cap's going to go up. What? You got to figure $8 million when they finally take the the handcuffs off. Absolutely, it's going to be going up.
Hopefully.
Here's the thing. The players
it's
are dumb.
50-50 split, but I mean, what we had last year was record high profits. We're still making up for those losses there during COVID, but the 50-50 share, ideally, right? I don't see the sport contracting and getting smaller over the next few years. I just don't see that with the ESPN. They're going to, I'm sure, come back with a little bit of a better plan going forward.
True. Agreed.
How much do they make in their TV deals? Was like it's like 10 billion? 5 billion, I think they make from ESPN and TNT, if I'm not mistaken. I know the NFL makes 100 billion from their deals, but I don't know how much the NHL makes.
NHL makes 1 billion.
1 billion. Okay. Much better than it was when it was on NBC.
That's right.
Yep, and that's what I'm saying, right? It's going to catch up. I think it's locked in a smaller rate increase next year, but when the next CBA comes up, ideally, you should be able to. And here's the thing. We talked about it before. The NHLPA is the worst freaking players union there is out of all the sports.
Cowards.
I'll say that they're the least powerful. I'll put it that way.
That's correct. And they got to do something to change that dynamic going forward. And people hate it, but I mean, like, man, oh man, that's just, everybody just gets those they just get those visions back of the lockout years. Oh God. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to bring us back on that downer per se. But I think there were some interesting comments made today by Lane Lambert about Robin Salo. Now, this I think kind of is the writing on the wall. Grump and Brandon. I think it's Shawalski's job to lose, right? We talked about, hey, what's the plan going into the season? I don't think the Islanders believe too much into Robin Salo. And again, maybe I'm taking this 1 or 2 sentence long response about Salo and I'm saying, maybe I'm reading too far into it. But Lane Lambert has said, and Steven Rosner did a great job reporting on it. Lane Lambert says here on Robin Salo, he's a guy that, he just needs to play his game. He's a puck-moving guy. He's got good offensive instincts. He's a power play guy. So, I'm looking forward to seeing where his game is once we open camp. That's coach speak for you have no fucking chance of cracking. In my opinion, you've got no chance of cracking the lineup, right? If you're coming in with expectations of Robin Salo is the guy, hey, we loved what he's put in the offseason. We loved what he did down there in Bridgeport. We expect him to make a big jump in his game. You say things like that. This is coach speak for we really don't have much of an expectation for you. My opinion.
Did he say anything about Chalowski? He could say the same thing about Chalowski.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull up what he said about Chalowski. Give me a second.
Because he can say this. You can say the same thing about Chalowski, but Chalowski's, I don't think he's that good. He doesn't play any defense. No. None at all.
He's a cheaper, less productive Ekman Larson, basically. He hasn't played, neither of them play any defense, and the only difference is Chalowski is cheaper but puts up less points. So,
speaking on Chalowski, Lambert
said, there we go.
He's a really solid offensive player. He moves the puck well, skates well, and he's got good offensive instincts, good mobility. So he's a guy who can move with the puck, and we like that. That's kind of what it sounds like, where it's like, hey, I'm penciling you in to do something a little bit. You talk really glowingly of him, not we'll see what he looks like when he comes to camp. I didn't see that with Chalowski, the guy who spent the majority of his season last year in the A. Didn't see that from that comment. I'm just saying the way Lane Lambert speaks, Schlafsky's ahead, in my opinion, regarding who's winning that number 6 defenseman spot. Is it Schlafsky or Robin Salo? I'd say Schlafsky's in the driver's seat. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the way it sounds to me. And think about it too. Phil sent this to me earlier regarding what Lou Lamoriello had spoken about this offseason. He had talked about, hey, we need to do a few things, this offseason. We need to make sure we add a defensive defenseman and an offensive defenseman. We need to make sure, going forward to be a competent defensive system. Schlafsky was the addition of that offensive defenseman, I believe.
Yeah, it's a bottom pair role, really. He should not be playing more than 16 minutes a night. Your top 4 should be averaging over 20 minutes a game. Maybe Mayfield too, but Cholowski, maybe he'll be the power play 2 specialist. It's definitely going to be Noah Dobson on the power play 1 area. But if he's playing more than 18 minutes a night, that's a problem. That's a problem in my opinion.
Oh, did Grumpy leave us?
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no, Grumpy. Anyway, we're in a spot to where, I think with Schlafsky, I don't have necessarily high expectations. He's playing a bottom line role. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I don't have huge expectations, quite frankly, for a guy like that, to be quite frank. And, this is a guy who has bounced around from team to team, has spent a lot of time in the AHL. We talked about how our top 4 is so steadfast. It's a fantastic top 4. It makes me worry that, hey, this is a guy who's been a retread on multiple different teams, who's really an AHL caliber guy who we're going to be probably thrusting into the NHL role. And maybe Robin Salo is an AHL caliber guy just through and through. I couldn't tell you necessarily, right off the top of my head, because I still think that Robin Salo is getting accustomed to that new ice surface. And, does he take a big step forward at the beginning of this year, right? If he doesn't take that big step forward, just kind of is what he is at that point. But, there still is the possibility that he can't take that step forward.
I think with Cholowski, I think he's more Robin Salo's safety blanket because, the contract that Robin Salo signed, it made him waivers exempt. So he can go up and down and he doesn't have to worry about any of that. And he still gets, he does have a one-way deal, but it's still waivers exempt. So his salary is near the equivalent of how it would be in the NHL compared to the AHL. So I think that there's an awareness factor. Go, hey, maybe we don't want to give Robin Salo too much too soon. We need some sort of a safety blanket. And probably Cholowski is probably going to be that safety blanket in this case.
I hope I'm wrong. Grumpy did give me an update. The power went out at his house.
Oh man, that sucks. That sucks.
No. Yeah. So we'll see if we can get him back in here before the show ended.
He'll come back. He'll come back. He's the grumpy old man. He's got this. He's got this.
Oh, he's gonna get the electric company over to the house, the king of the neighborhood, as he declares himself.
There you go.
We'll get back over there.
Oh my God.
But when we're looking at this year, right? I think that you don't need much from that bottom pairing defenseman, whether it's Schlafsky, whether it's Robin Salo. We just need somebody that can provide a little bit of an offensive touch. And I think, right, Scott Mayfield's one of those defensive stalwarts. He's a guy who, will provide, that sure, steady Eddie type of hand on the defensive side of the puck.
Yeah, Mayfield's the stay-at-home guy. You need the puck mover to play next to him. That's why when you had, players for Letty or Tays or whoever, anytime a puck mover played with Mayfield, that pair worked. And that's why Pelech and Pollock worked. Pollock, to a lesser degree, was the puck mover, and Pelech was the elite shutdown stay-at-home guy. That's how it works. It works for Minnesota with Middleton and Spurgeon, with Brodin and Dumba. They just complement each other. So I don't think you should expect much from Cholowski and Mayfield, but you need your top 4 though to keep the puck in the attacking zone more often, regardless of who's pairing with Mayfield. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, and I know we had talked about this a little bit earlier. We had touched on the Anthony Beauvillier. I mean, we got to agree, right? This is a make or break year for him, though, right? Wouldn't you say?
No doubt. If he's given the proper opportunities, and if he's given the proper opportunities and fails, then yeah, you might need to move on at that point. But and again, that was my thing last year. I'm gonna beat a dead horse, I know. But if you maximize your players properly and then they don't succeed, hey, no one's going to give the coach crap for it. They're going to give the GM crap for it. I mean, that's why Trotz got a lot of crap last year. with the way he handled the youth. And you hope, like I said, that whether it's Chalosky and Sal, they stick with Mayfield. You keep Romanov and Dobson. You keep Beauvillier with Barzell, and you give Bellows mid to top 6 time. That's what you need. And Wallstrom too. Wallstrom needs his time too. If Bailey's in the top 6 this upcoming season, I'm going to scream. I'm literally going to scream if that happens.
I hope for our sake that he won't be. I mean, it's tough to even say he took a noticeable drop off in his game, because I think the majority of his game is nondescript from start to finish. Occasionally he'll show moments, but last year again was another one of those years where it was a nondescript performance out of a guy like Josh Bailey, and it makes you think like it's. The unfortunate part of this is Oliver Wahlstrom is yet not a good enough skater, in my opinion, to be paired up immediately with Matt Barzal. I'm not saying he can't get to that point, not saying he can't work on it. I'm just saying right now, skating is not a strong suit of his game. He's got the ability to have a great shot. He's got that shooter's first mentality. He's got that deadly release. He's, I think, a below average skater, where if his other skills are fantastic, I think he's great at stick handling. I think he's got deceptively physical for his role, which is nice to see too. But he's a guy where, I think he struggles a little bit. Oh, Grumpy, how are you?
Good. My power's out here, so I'm using a hotspot.
Oh, there it is. Did you want to say anything about Chalosky and Robin?
It's only going to last as long as my phone is charged, so not too long.
How much charge do you have on your phone, Grumpy?
40%.
Oh, you're good. You're good then.
And also, as long as the computer stays lit up too.
What happened? The entire transformer blew or something?
Trees fell on blinds and knocked it all out.
What's the weather like? What's the weather like down there? Is it really that bad right now?
Nope. Probably just who knows. But they say they'll be back up by 1:30. Hopefully, the podcast will be over by then.
Oh, and now TJ left.
Well, he probably had to go to the bathroom. We are, 54 minutes in, 55 minutes in?
Yeah, pretty close to that. We were, TJ was just talking about like Chalosky getting the spot over Robin Salo, basically, in the bottom pair. And I'm like, that shouldn't make or break your season, really. He shouldn't be getting more than 16 minutes a game.
If he's defensive liability, it's going to hurt them. At least I feel that way anyway. Ooh, another light right in my face. I'm going to get to some comments. I know TJ hates that. I don't care. And I don't. Okay, here we go. Matthew DiBernardo says, "What's up, guys?" Andrew says, "Bailey's first pitch to the Mets game couldn't be any more fitting. Shitty pitch." JG, welcome to the Islanders Never Say 8 o'clock podcast. Thank you. Goon Goon says several Islander players at the Mets game tonight, and the Mets are getting trounced. Does this bode well for the Islanders season? I'm going to say there does not have a direct correlation. Brandon, what do you say?
It doesn't bode well for Josh Bailey.
There you go. Doug R says, "Hello, Brandon, Grumpy Old Man, and the rest of the Islander faithful, and TJ."
Hey. Let me ask you a question. This is why you don't run the technical aspect, because as soon as I walk away for 1 second, it's not like, hey, there's anything else you ever want to talk about with the Islanders. It's like you never think about questions that you have about the Islanders, Grumpy. You just say, let's go right to comments. What is that about? Also, turn the light off on your thing. It's going to run your battery dead on your computer.
Okay.
You'll just be in the dark. That's fine.
No, because I will be in the dark.
That's fine,
Grumpy.
Grumpy.
Tell you that. Let's see. You want to? I mean, I ain't kidding either.
That's what.
Oh my God!
It's
Darth Grumpy Grump. It's like it's hello darkness, my old friend. We had Grumpy before we started getting in comments. We had an ad to read, and we got two ads to read. Actually, we got one from DraftKings and one from Raycon. Today's sponsors are DraftKings and Raycons. The NFL's opening week was action-packed, and it's just getting started. Get ready for week 2 of touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on any football game and get $200 in free bets instantly. You want more? Everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. It's simple. This Sunday, bet on any NFL team to win, and if your team leads by 10 points at any time during the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes and the description for additional details.
Yay.
Grump, oh shit! I love how he just goes yay. I figured you would talk a little bit about Week 1 action, Grump. You complained about it Sunday evening that all these guys who sat out there in the preseason struggled their first game.
So now you want me to talk about football on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast
for a second as I pull up our next ad, just to talk and just to speak a little bit, Grump.
Let me get to some more comments when TJ's getting.
Hold on. Get the fuck out of here. All right, come on.
Saquon and the Giants with a Week 1 victory.
Oh man, I tell you, I was shocked about that win, Grump. I was not expecting that. I know Grump and I were just kind of like freaking. Man,
well, I wasn't expecting to win, but I was expecting Barkley to bounce back this year.
It's early yet.
I have him on my fantasy teams. Everyone I could get him on, I got him on.
Christ, his freaking my fantasy teams.
God, he's my RB2. He's my RB2. Performing like an RB1.
We've got an ad also from Raycon. Lately, I've been listening to a lot. I don't know, podcasts probably. I don't listen to much music, so I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and it's been great. One of the reasons it's been great listening to it, well, because of the Raycon wireless earbuds. That's why. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever. With the optimized gel tips and the perfect in-ear fit, the earbuds are so comfortable and they don't budge. Trust me. Like when I'm working out at the gym, I don't have to worry about it as I'm doing an exercise. If my arm hits my ear, boop, it comes popping out. Don't have to worry about that, Grump. And that's important to me. And Raycon gives you 8 hours of playtime and 32-hour battery life. Wow, that's great. And Raycons are priced just right. They'll get quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands. It's no wonder why Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews. Grump, again, I love the fact that, hey, I'm one of the guys who like to boop, boop, touch it with a little tap technology. I like when I could go ahead and do the noise isolation so I don't have to hear all the outside noise. But hey, if I don't want it, I could go ahead and click on the left ear too, and I can hear what's going on around me. Again, the features on the phone are pretty cool, or on the earbuds are pretty cool. Grumpy, what do you like listening to your Raycon wireless earbuds on, Grump? I know you do. I know you don't listen to the podcast like I do. I know you like listening to the music and everything like that.
I don't wear earbuds.
What do you mean, Grumpy?
Because they fit funny in my ears.
No, these ones fit perfect in your ears.
I don't know. They haven't sent me a pair. They should send me some ear. I mean, you want me to? I'll promote your product, but you got to send me something.
Jesus Christ!
It's
send them to me, Grumpy. What can I say? Maybe they just send.
Like I said, you get. I mean, you're asking me. You're the one who gets anything that comes from these sponsors. You get. I get nothing. Nothing. I get nothing from this podcast except Ajita. That's all I get.
What's Ajita? They're going to love this ad read, just in case you're wondering, Grump. Anyway, so yeah, I like listening to the podcast. Grumpy, I assume, would like listening.
I don't know. See, you're getting it's too much. Here's the thing. Earphones or what are they called? Earpods?
Earbuds.
Earbuds. Okay, that's a young person game. I'm not going like this on the side of my head. I'm not doing that unless I got wax in my ear or some water in there. I don't do that.
Jesus Christ. That's a good
as anyone who watches this podcast listens to it, I won't even wear the regular headphones because they make my ears sweat. My ears are very sensitive.
Thanks when I was talking about, hey, we're going to talk about our ad read, and I said, gotcha, we're going to discuss this, and you completely just freaking sideways it.
I'm in the dark here.
Good. Glad that you did that without us knowing, without us planning for it. So thank you so much. But go to Raycon. Here's the thing. I like the Raycon earbuds. They are cheap. I'm a cheap guy. I'm not going to spend a freaking $100 or $200 on some freaking AirPods or anything like that. I'll buy myself a reasonably priced earphone, and I'll get it to where it works well. It's got like the different size for like the gels on it, which is always nice when you plug them in your ears. They're not freaking huge and like obstructive to where they're causing a scene on there. so I can listen to my podcast as I'm working out. So I enjoy it. Maybe, I guess Grump doesn't use it, but hey, maybe Grumpy will get you a pair, and maybe we'll test it to see if the most sensitive ears in the world, if it's going to fit for the most sensitive ears in the world, if it's going to make you sweat, Grumpy. It's literally just something you plug in the side of your ear and doesn't like stick out. They're not like headphones like this, Grump. They're pods.
Okay.
They're ear pods.
So, hold on. So
Yeah.
you actually used the product.
Correct.
You like the product.
Correct.
Is that correct? You've said all these technology. What does it matter what I think? You're the one who used it. If I've never used it.
What's wrong with getting our co-host involved in this, Grumpy? I don't know. It tells us on this to speak about it a little bit.
Okay.
And that's what I told you beforehand. What the
I know you did, but I couldn't. Here's the thing. I'm in the dark here, like I said.
You're in the dark here. That prevented you from remembering the conversation we just had an hour ago? Holy shit, man.
Here's the thing. If I used these pods,
yeah,
if I used them, I'm sure they'd be great. You have actually used them, and you actually, and anyone who listens to this podcast is going to be stunned, sound intelligent about the product. That's something we're not used to saying. TJ sounding intelligent. So, I mean, I think they should be happy with what you said.
I just told you. I'm like, you could talk about how you use them on this, that, and this. And Grumpy comes out and says, I never use them. Don't worry, Grumpy. We're going to get you one of the, Grumpy. They're Bluetooth. Yeah. So you link them up with your phone. You just go ahead. Well, for you, it might be very complex. So you might have to get a technician out to the house for you, Grumpy.
When I walk around the house, I put my thing on loud, the highest it goes, and I walk because there's cars.
Yeah, and that's why I sound like when I'm listening to you, it sounds like a freaking wind turbine as you're whipping that phone around. Maybe you need to start plugging in the earphones. So
I don't want to get hit by cars. I don't want to get hit by vehicles or anything like that. I'm caring about my safety first.
That's the big question, Raycon. Are you going to prevent vehicle collision for the grumpy old man as he walks the neighborhood? Hold on. They told me 100% guarantee, Grumpy, you won't get hit in the neighborhood, okay? But go to buyraycon.com today and use the promo code THPN15 to get 15% off of your Raycon order. That's promo code THPN15 at buyraycon.com and score 15% off. Buyraycon.com, code THPN15.
And TJ says so.
Jesus Christ, Grumpy, I tell you. Grump. Anyway, man.
Get unplugged. Wear the earbuds. TJ wears them at the gym when he's listening to who knows what.
Oh, good gracious. I tell you. Let's get to some comments though. Jesus, Grumpy. Michael M saying, I know the guest tonight.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, I know you covered a few there. Frank K said Josh Bailey and the Islanders jinxing the Mets by being at the game. It's got to be the colors. I tell you, man, the Mets are struggling as of late. Andrew L said Bailey's first Mets game.
That one's done. Did that one. Done.
Grumpy, you know what you should do?
I've done quite a few of these comments.
Michael M saying 2 bald guys and a full head of hair. Oh, there.
I don't know. I'm looking at Brandon. It doesn't look like he's got a full head of hair either.
Yeah, it's starting to go. It's starting to go.
And how old are you, Brandon?
I'm 30.
See, still a baby yet.
Yeah, I'm losing it.
Actually, my hair. Look at how long my hair is. It is so long today. It's dark, very dark colored.
Grumpy, let me ask you this: do you guys watch Impractical Jokers?
No, that show sucks.
Have you ever seen Impractical Jokers, Brandon?
Here and there. I haven't really watched it, no.
I love it.
I'm glad they're not one of our sponsors. I'm glad they're not one of our sponsors because I'd say they suck. That's something I've actually seen, and I'm like, this blows. And that's being nice. It sucks and blows.
I think Brandon looks a little bit, in the most respectful way possible, he looks a little bit like Joey Gatto with the hairdo, with the spiked hairdo. I think Joey Gatto is who he looks like, Grumpy. You know the character, right?
No.
Oh, God almighty.
I say it.
I'll give us again an endearing picture. Joey Gatto there.
My computer's getting ready to run out, and we're looking at pictures for some failed TV show.
It's not a failed TV show. It's had multiple seasons on air. I love the TV show.
Please.
I think it looks a little bit like Joey Gatto.
Oh my God!
What? She's got the hairdo, I think.
My head's a little bit bigger than his, though.
Not obviously the ground aside, but hey, it looks a little like Joey Gatto. What can I say? That's what I think. Yeah, Grumpy. Damn, you're really hard to see. What's your percentage at Grumpy?
I don't know. Not
okay. Dika, did you give Isles Misery Rated R a shout out, Grump?
Didn't get down that far, but everyone knows I love Isles
swear to
Misery.
God, I swear to God, your level of Grump right now makes me want to go down there and just Grumpy.
You won't be able to find your way. It's dark here.
Go ahead. Go ahead and give you a little shout out, Grump.
Get lost. Yes, but the boys at Isles Misery Rated R, I don't know if there's any girls. If there are, yeah, they're cool too. At Isles Misery Rated R, that fantastic Facebook group, gotta love them. Fans of the Grumpy Old Man. Grumpy Old Man loves them. TJ, not so much.
You know, I just wish you could give even a modicum or a slight inkling of the shout out you just gave to Isles Misery Rated R. You would have given in that Raycon read.
I don't know anything about the Raycon product. You got them. You use them. You Bogart them. You didn't tell me anything about them until today.
Okay.
50 minutes ago, you said, oh, hey, we got, I'm like, what is this? I don't know. You didn't even tell me that you had the products and you were using them. Now you're using the products. I don't know anything about them. None of the products seem to make their way to my house ever. Ever.
George,
the landscaping product you had? Never made its way over here. Not that I'd use it now after your filthy body touched it, but still, same thing.
Gungun also saying several Islanders players at the Mets.
Already did that one. We actually talked about it at length. Move along.
Scott L says here the Islanders are not signing to anyone to any PTOs as reported. So this entire offseason moves were signing or trading for Romanoff and signing Shawalski. What a failure of an offseason.
True.
And here's the thing, even if we had a PTO for Sonny Milano, that doesn't really do much either, in my opinion.
No. Yeah. I don't think it would have mattered. You know, now if they were able to get players like either Mikheyev or Burakovsky, then now we're talking. But Milano or Tyler Mott, like no, that doesn't move the needle.
Michael M saying TJ, the Anders Lee lover. I am Grumpy. First ballot Hall of Fame type of guy. Doug R says, hey, Brandon, Grumpy Old Man, and the rest of the Islanders faithful. And TJ.
Hello, Doug.
Doug. Anyway, Wade Flaherty said, what's up as well? He's saying, hey, Grump, TJ, and Brandon. TJ is not the analyst and expert. He's the music and movie critic. That is right, Michael M. I do know a little bit more than Grumpy does in those pop culture fields. I'd have
you
to.
You don't know anything about anything.
Is that what it is? I'm Grump.
Except for the Raycon things. I mean, because you use them.
Can I ask you, TJ, what's your favorite MCU movie?
Oh God.
What's your favorite?
I was lucky.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. That's not favorite. The Ant-Man. There you go. I find Paul Rudd funny.
First of all, it's not the Ant-Man. It's just
Ant-Man. It's just Ant-Man.
OGs, it's the Ant-Man. What can I say, Grumpy? Okay, get off my back.
Do you remember what the sequel? Do you know what the sequel was called?
Ant-Man versus the Wasp.
No. Yeah. The Ant-Man and the Wasp.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp.
And the Wasp. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was checking to see if you guys are still paying attention and awake. Okay. That's what I was doing. That's why I like that. Even though I hate the freaking character and the stupid uniform he puts on, I do like that because it's funny. I do like Ant-Man.
Okay. Do you know what the highest grossing movie of all time is?
Avatar? Or is it Endgame?
It's called Avengers Endgame.
I just said Endgame. Jesus Christ. Is that not good enough for you?
No. I wanted the full name. I'm surprised you even knew that. Did you even see that movie? No. I didn't think so.
Did Endgame make more than Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yep.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know it's the highest grossing Spider-Man movie of all time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it reached Endgame. No. Wow. Okay.
I saw a whole bunch of different characters, like the one with the stone in his head, and I saw I obviously know about Wakanda, but I saw the people from Black Panther. I don't know any Vision, the girl. I don't watch any of the other movies. I'm lucky.
The girl.
Vision's girlfriend, whatever the hell Vision is. I assume Vision's the one with the stone in his head. It's like honestly, it was like when I saw Harry Potter. I watched the first two Harry Potters and I went to the last one. I'm like, I'm completely lost.
So you skipped Prisoner of Azkaban?
I skipped a lot of them. I skipped whatever. I saw like one or two of them, and then I skipped them until the last one. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go to the last one. I was like, I'm lost. So that's kind of how it was a little bit with the Marvel universe, but it was simple enough to where they're just beating Thanos. That's what it was all about.
TJ said the same thing when he watched Winnie the Pooh the first time. I'm lost.
Is that what it was? Michael N saying Brandon Gaines is a part of a very special podcast. He just can't say the name live. I don't know what that means.
It has an expletive in the title. It's called it's abbreviated AFIP for another bleeping Isles podcast. And we do it once every 3 weeks usually. But haven't had a chance to get together to do another show. We'll probably do one next week though.
Another freaking podcast, another Islanders freaking podcast. Scott L says chip on the shoulder. What a sour cream and onion chip. Oh man. And Grumpy with the purple drink. Absolutely. D-Cut saying fire TJ, hire D-Cut per the usual. Doug R said, I agree. Separating Pelech and Pulak was a bad idea.
Beyond moronic.
Now, Grumpy, go ahead.
Beyond moronic to separate them. They're arguably a top 3 defensive pair in the league. Deviating that alone sunk them. Because then you paired Pelech with freaking Mayfield, which that's a bad fit. Like, come on.
Grumpy, you've mentioned before that you want Pelech and Dobson to be paired together instead of Pelech and Pulak.
Yeah, I think that that pair took a step back. Now, Pulak was hurt last year. I just want Dobson getting as much ice time as possible. That's my whole thing. But now if Romanov, steps up and shows that he's a solid partner with Dobson, leave it the way it is.
Yeah, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about messing with your pairs for at least 3 to 6 years. You don't even have to worry about it at this point.
Yep.
So, I think Romanov will pair with. I think Romanov will pan out with Dobson quite well because his style. I don't think it's going to work right away, but long term, I think his style of play will benefit Dobson more from a 5-on-5 standpoint than Chara could ever dream of doing last year.
Yeah, and I think, again, defensively and even through transition, we're going to be a much better team than we were last year. And I think hopefully that's going to spur the offense we need. How much offense will it spur? That's the question. I think in transition we'll be a lot better. And I think, we're not going to be spending as much time in our own zone, which is 2 big pluses.
The objective should be to get back to how the offense was 5-on-5 the previous year. The previous year, the Islanders ranked 10th in total 5-on-5 goals scored. The issue was their power play sucked. Now that you have Noah Dobson as an established power play quarterback, though, and he should stay there, you should not leave that spot. Get to where you were in 2021, 5-on-5. Supplement that with a strong power play quarterback, and you should see a better uptick in terms of goal production. That's the way I feel.
And I think that makes us one of those playoff caliber teams. And again, when the playoffs come around, I still don't think we're a cup competitor. I still think we're far away from that territory, but I think we're a playoff caliber team. And that's,
I think there's I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions to call this team a cup contender right away. I think you could say they're a playoff team, but I can't consider them cup contender stats because of question marks in terms of, hey, how are Wahlstrom, Bellows, and Beauvillier going to be used? If they're used poorly, then you're not going far.
Mm-hmm. Grumpy, what's your power at down there?
I don't know. Just get moving.
I tell you, he's grumpy as shit. He's thinking to himself, I'm not going to have any video. I'm not going to be able to watch TV and movies tonight. That's what he's all upset about right now. He's all frustrated. Christopher C says here, you can't fool this Islander fan, TJ. You're always late. Grumpy has perfect attendance. Grumpy, how have you been? Says Owen J. What's up, Owen Johnson?
Very good, Owen. Thank you.
Frank K says, prediction, the Islanders make it 40 years without a cup.
I agree.
And he says, hey, but Lou can do no wrong. Too many bootlickers. Oh, man.
Bootlicking weasels.
Jay Clark says, hello, TJ. Grumpy old man, TJ, and Brandon. The Islander of the Bailey bashing has begun. I would like to bash Lee and John Gabriel Pajot, and mostly Lou Loser Lamoriello.
Leave Pajot alone. What did he ever do?
It should just be Loser Lamoriello. Loser, not Sir Lou Lamoriello. Loser Lamoriello.
Oh, goodness. I think John Gabriel, hopefully he's got to bounce back, but I just think he's got a lot of tread on the miles.
I'm going to try not to bash Bailey for as long as I can last this season. I want to see how far we go.
One game in, first
one
week
game.
You never know.
How hard are you going to try? Is it like one of those Michael Scott from The Office? I'm going to try hard. Or is this actually going to be you're going to try, Grumpy?
I am going to try. I'm going to try. He's going to have to do his part and not play like shit. But I'm going to try not to bash him.
Frank K said, Malkin, sell the team. We'll wait to show that one until you're off the air, Grumpy, because we could talk about how the Property Brothers are going to sell the squad again.
Oh, God.
Doug R said, how many new unrestricted free agent signings were at the Mets game? I don't think any.
We don't have it. We didn't do any of that, did we?
We've got one, Shalovsky. That's it.
Okay.
Big Time 28 said, what would it take to unload Josh Bailey? I'll let you take that one first, Grumpy.
A box of Capri Suns from his mom.
God almighty.
You know, like the little juice bags. Yeah, Joshy. Suck on his little juice box.
You think it's going to take that, or we're going to get juice boxes?
Oh, I got fruit punch, Grandma. I see fruit punch. I like that one. You got another one?
I'm more of a fan of orange and grape than fruit punch. Fruit punch would be a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, he likes fruit punch. Believe me.
Oh,
he's a fruit punch kind of guy.
What do you think it's going to take there, Brandon, to unload Josh Bailey?
Probably took more than Lou was willing to offer, because Bailey wasn't moved this offseason. He should have been, but if you're asking for a first rounder for the Flyers to move James Van Riemsdyk, then you're probably gonna have to. Oh, your power's back!
Woo-hoo!
Yes.
There it is.
Yes.
I think it would take. I think it would take something back in return.
Yeah, I think it'd be like a mid pick, but you're gonna trade a pick away to move a player who is better than Andrew Ladd right now. I think if Bailey had a reduced role, like not in the top 6, then he would be okay. Not $5 million, okay, but you could deal with that. But you shouldn't have to give up a high pick to move a player who's making less salary than his cap hit and who's a better player than Andrew Ladd. That's just how I feel. And I don't want Bailey on the top 6. In a perfect world, Bailey should not be in the lineup at all. But I'm not going to trade a high pick to move him. I'm not doing that.
Like unless the right player was available, that would be the only chance.
Yeah.
I would have been more prone to say trade away Varlamov, trade away from a position of strength, acquire draft capital. If you could package up what draft capital you get from Varlamov to offset and trade away Bailey, well, terrific. I got rid of Varlamov, who makes more, as a backup goalie. He's going to be valuable at the trade deadline if we're not in the picture. But I also can do that to get rid of Bailey. I've cleared up $9 million worth of cap space overnight. That gives you the flexibility and freedom to make moves in the offseason, to add those free agents, to add to the offensive side of the puck. You trade your backup goalie and you trade a guy who's a middle 6 forward that's on the wrong side of 30, who really had a miserable year last year. And I mean, that's how you reasonably say, how can our team take steps forward? Free up a spot on the forward group as well to add one of those high-power guys. But hey, what do we know? I
have a question. Is Lou Lamoriello still the general manager?
Yes, he is.
Forget it. It's not happening. That would take some creativity. Not happening.
I mean, didn't he trade Dion Phaneuf to Ottawa with no salary retained though? I mean, he's done moves like that before. Like it's not out of the picture for him to do it.
How much younger was he? How many years younger was he?
This was back in 2017 when he traded Dion to Ottawa.
5 years, man.
5 years. So he was 75.
That's a lot of wear and tear on the brain. 5 years.
That's a name I haven't thought of in a while. Dion Phaneuf. Oh,
yeah. He got traded to a divisional rival, and there was no salary retention on that. Now it was a different picture. Toronto was obviously full rebuild at that time. They were trying to be bad on purpose. So, and Ottawa saw Phaneuf as a valuable asset. I don't know why, but Toronto managed to get him off the books entirely. It was a lot of prospects went back and forth for it to work. We don't really have the prospects to make that exchange work, I guess, with Bailey.
Does it shock you at all that when the Leafs offered him that contract, they gave him a no move clause as well? I'm trying to think. Now he signed originally with the Maple Leafs. What was in 2014-15?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. Lou was in charge at the helmet that year, wasn't he?
No, Lou, I believe, became general manager around the summertime of 2015.
Okay, gotcha. So he wasn't in
Oh
charge.
no, he lost his power again.
Oh well. Jake
Oh,
Clark is here. Bailey is a traitor. He's a Yankees fan. There's a picture of him with Matt Morton at a Yankees game wearing a Yankee cap. I think a lot of them just go ahead and support the team, the hometown teams.
yeah,
it's like the Jets at the Rangers.
Robert Saleh did the same thing. Well, yep. he did the same thing when he went to the Islanders playoffs and then he went to the Rangers playoffs games. They're all New York fans at the end.
I was about to say, I don't really think they care. They're like, okay, whatever team's doing well, I'll root for the hometown team. Tommy B says, good evening. Yeah, fine, gents. What's up, Coach Tommy B? And the Mets should have pitched Bailey tonight. Oof.
Couldn't have been worse.
Oh, good gracious. And Matthew has said, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Quotation marks, Gaines. So there it is, Brandon Gaines on the show. Matthew C said, same old story. Lou has not improved the offense. We can talk about this every week, and he's not going to make any improvements as of this point. That's just that simple. We're kind of going in with what we've got at the moment. D-Cut, they're saying prospects report tomorrow. Ice Works will be empty. Oh, good gracious. And Scott L saying, hey, at least TJ warned us about there's going to be no show this Saturday. That's right. No show this Saturday. Instead of having everybody sit there until 8:45 waiting for the show to start. Thanks for the heads up, TJ. Thanks there, Scott. Always. Frank K said the Seattle shutout loss was the last straw for me with Fox.
Yep.
You can see the team wasn't responding to him.
That's when I made that comment to your podcast. That's when I said that when Wahlstrom, Sal, and Bells were all misutilized under Trotz, it was after that game. And I said, as a result, you fired a coach because of how players like Burakovsky, Schmidt, Stevenson, and Verana, and Forsberg were all misutilized under Trotz, and you literally saw it unfold. That loss literally, that made me lose it after that point. It was just a horrible offensive output collectively. Horrible.
And Doug R said, bad feeling we miss out by just a bit, so we end up with a middle first round pick. Oof, that'd be worst case scenario. That would be the absolute worst case scenario if we just miss out and we get ourselves a spot where we're drafting at 13th or 14th overall, and it looks like, hey, maybe we have a chance. We're just running on the hamster wheel of mediocrity.
I think Washington's going to take a big step back because they're not going to have Backstrom and they're going to have Wilson out for a bulk of the season as well. I don't think replacing that with Dylan Strom's going to remedy that situation at all. Ovechkin needs his Backstrom. So he's actually, Backstrom is arguably the most important overall forward on that Capitals team. He holds that team together. And for him to be out for, I believe, the entire season, devastating. And I
think the silver-haired fox Alexander Ovechkin is just so unbelievably valuable and talented, and that's the guy when we're talking about what he's going to be able to do. That's the player where I think he still is going to chug along. He's a fantastic player. He's still going to be right in the top 5 in goals for, just like he is every single year. And Grumpy is back. Looking a little pixelated this time, but Grumpy, what happened this time?
Yeah, my router was rebooting. I got off my.
I know.
I got off my hotspot, and my router hadn't finished rebooting. So now it's rebooted. We should not have any more issues for the rest of the show.
I'm glad that you've just given me more
Unless
work.
Somebody hits a poll.
I'm glad. No more Darth Sidious.
I'm glad you've given me more work to do with cutting and pasting this podcast this afternoon, Grumpy. So thank you so much. Not only the ad that we had, the ad debacle, but also all of the starts and stops, Grumpy. I love it. Frank K. also saying, don't dismiss.
Let me tell you something. That's the best ad read that anyone's going to do.
Okay. Frank K. saying here.
Grumpy froze. Grumpy froze.
Oh, he's good. He'll be fine. And don't dismiss Ottawa or Detroit. Yeah, I think Detroit could take a step forward. I think Ottawa's still a little bit away. I think Detroit is closer of the two. I know Grumpy doesn't buy into all the Detroit hype, but I do. I'm hyping them up. Detroit, Grump.
Their defenses are ass. They're very bad, and left in the back end. They have Moritz Sider for Detroit and
Mm.
Shabbat for Ottawa, but after that, like they have nothing in the back end to be. Ooh, we got to watch out for that.
I like Hornick. I like Hornick for Detroit too. I think he's a guy who's a solid top 4. Like, Sider's going to take a step forward too. They've got young players up in a pipeline. What are you doing that smirk for, Grumpy? They got young players up in a pipeline. I'm excited about Detroit. I'm bullish on Detroit, Grump. You know this. What?
Yeah, I know you are. They're not a playoff contender.
I just think
they're a playoff contender, really?
I think they're a team that's close. If certain things fall right, absolutely. I think they're a team that's close. They play in the toughest division in all of hockey. If they come out and make the playoffs, they're very battle tested, and that's a team you got to be excited and elated for in the future.
So they're going to have to knock out either Washington or Boston, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Realistically, okay. How many points were they behind those two teams last
year? Or
you
could see 5 teams from the Atlantic make the playoffs.
So they're going to have to. Well, okay.
So yeah, Washington.
They're going to have to beat out one of the last 2 teams, Washington or Boston. That's who they're going to have to beat out.
Yep, I can see it. You talk about teams that have a chance for growth. Lucas Raymond's not taking a step back next year. Dylan Larkin's not taking a step back next year. Tyler Bertuzzi's not taking a step back this next year. There's a lot of those players who are young and entering the prime or near the prime of their career that are not going to take steps back. They're just improving and getting better with their game.
They're not really a really good team. I'm sorry.
They're not good defensively.
Yeah, they're terrible defensively.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the Ben Sherratt deal. I think it's a massive overpayment. I think I forget the overpayment that Florida made to get him. Like, I don't get the contract that Detroit signed for. They didn't have to give him that.
I don't get the love for him, period.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about Nick Leddy, to be fair. Like, I don't get what St. Louis was doing giving Leddy 4x4 either. Like, it's baffling. It cost you David Perron, essentially.
Yeah.
Who's now playing for Detroit, ironically.
Detroit's got. Yeah, I mean,
TJ, I'm gonna say one thing, TJ. You are not allowed to drink anymore on this podcast, because if my internet goes up and down, Brandon's going to have to carry the show here. I don't know if he can read the comments. You cannot be spending the whole night in the bathroom.
Oh, gracious. Mets just announced the signing of Josh Bailey as new pitcher. Coach Tommy B says,
I'll take him over Peterson tonight.
Is complete.
Cutchlight Revenge says, why is Sonny Milano not in an Islanders uniform? We just don't have the space, quite frankly. We don't have this forward space in order to make a guy like that work into our lineup and our roster.
We're already 2 players over the limit. I mean, on the major league on the the NHL level. I mean, how many more of those guys can you have?
Yeah, go ahead,
you wonder if Milano's looking for something bigger than a PTO, though, right? Because Lambert said yesterday he doesn't anticipate any PTOs from happening. What if Milano actually wants a small contract, like players like Tyler Mott and Evan Rodriguez were guaranteed? Yes, it was $1 million change, but at least that's guaranteed. Hey, I'm going to make this money. That could be something Milano wants, and probably the Islanders aren't willing to give him that.
Is it worth him sitting out a year or taking a PTO to say, hey, I'm going to try to get myself a contract? That's the way I look at it. For these guys, he's not guaranteed anything from year to year.
Where would he get the ice time, though, if he signed here, though? Where would he fit?
That's correct. I'm just saying, here's the thing. If he's on a PTO somewhere else, we'd know about it probably by this time period.
Yeah.
And they're already announcing those, hey, PTOs, hey, this guy's coming out there on a preferred tryout. And we saw a whole bunch of those getting released here today. And Sonny Milano's name just still not on the list.
First of all,
I think he's too talented. Go ahead, Grump.
It's professional tryout, not preferred tryout. Professional.
That's where you go ahead and be the stickler.
I'm surprised we didn't try to roll the dice on Evan Rodriguez. 1 year for $2 million. That fits under our cap. Yeah,
I would have. I'll take him over Clutterbuck. Easily, I'll take him over Clutterbuck. And for the money, yeah. I mean, he had the cap space to do it.
He brings the physicality too, and I feel like in the past, we haven't had that same level of physicality that we've had, and in recent years. It's just, I mean, like you look at a lot of the physical play and a lot of the imposer and the intimidator really was like, okay, it was Char. Char is no longer part of the team. Matt Martin doesn't have the same prowess that he used to. And it's just I would have no problem at all with Evan Rodriguez joining the Islanders on a 1-year deal. That's how you should sign bottom line guys, 1-year deals. 1 year, here's a cheap contract, not we need to sign you for a 6-year deal or a 3-year deal or a 4 or 5-year deal.
So wait, so Rodriguez, he signed with Colorado, right? If I'm not mistaken. So the counter argument to that is maybe Rodriguez signed with Colorado as opposed to like teams like Tampa or like the Islanders or like the Blues, because since they have a hole in their lineup because of the Kadri departure, maybe if you're Rodriguez, you get more playing time and you get more opportunities to get some points to get yourself a bigger contract. Where would he fit on the Islanders, though, in the mid-6 to get that playing time and then the contract? I think he has a better chance in Colorado because of the holes that they have now, because no Burakovsky and no Kadri.
I think if we didn't, Jesus, I mean, like he would never be a guy who's just because of our center depth, right? I don't think he would slide it. But this is the example, right? This is why you don't need to sign a guy like Jean-Gabriel Pageau to a 5-year contract when he's a guy who's got a lot of rough miles on him. Again, like Rodriguez is very interchangeable for a guy like, and again, right? Jean-Gabriel Pageau does a little bit of everything. He's like a Swiss Army knife. Rodriguez is the same thing. Rodriguez quietly 43 points this year as a middle 6 guy for Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, we can never find a guy who could play the middle 6. That's why we've got to pay our middle 6. That's why we've got to pay our third line center $5 million a year for the next 5 years or whatever, however long that contract was, right?
6.
Rodriguez, it was was it 6-year deal?
It was 6. It was 6 years, $30 million.
6 years, okay, 6 years, 6 by 5. Like you don't have. I mean, a guy like Rodriguez available as a free agent this offseason, $2 million. 1-year deal, $2 million. And here's the thing: maybe he does sign it because he wants to win a cup. Oh, I want to have a chance to win a cup, and I feel like Colorado gives me that best opportunity and option. I'm just saying, right? What is an extra? If you toss an extra $1 million at him on a 1-year contract, you say, hey, maybe we're not the same exact cup contender as Colorado, but here you go. Here's an extra $1 million for your troubles. You know what I mean? I just feel like you have players you could fill in with the bottom 6 with ease, right? You don't have to overpay them like we just we're prone to do with our players.
And when people ask why our salary cap situation is the way it is, that's why we overpay guys for some unknown reason. You don't need to pay Casey Cizikas. You don't need to give him a 6-year deal. You don't need to give a 4-year deal to Matt Martin at 32. You don't need to give Cal Clutterbuck at 34 a 2-year deal worth anything. It's vet minimum at this stage. You're in your 30s. You're not getting anything more than vet minimum. Go somewhere else. They're not going to want to go anywhere. They're happy on Long Island. They're not going to travel. We'll make them take a pay cut. It's like I said, JG Pageau. Love JG Pageau. He's not
still love it.
Still not worth $5 million a year.
Yeah, I don't
just
think
not.
I mean, like when we were talking about, even if he's playing right, a third line guy, Rodriguez does a lot of those things comparable at a fraction of the price. It allows you to, at a fraction of the price, it allows you to say there is no more sorry X excuse of, oh, we don't have the cap space in order to go out there and get a guy like David Perron. We don't have the cap space to go after a guy like a Johnny Gaudreau. We just can't. We don't have the cap space. We weren't willing to trade over Josh Bailey and trade draft capital away to do that. If you're more strategic with how you spend your dollars every single year, you find that you're not in the position where you could say, I can't go ahead and get this free agent who's a big fish because we don't have the cap to throw at him. I mean, like, it's the sorriest excuse there is, but still, I mean, like, God almighty. Like when I see a contract like that, I say, wow, Colorado really got a sweetheart deal with a guy like Rodriguez there.
So, okay. So this is where, TJ, you and I are going to disagree on this. Me personally, I still dig having Pageau on my team. Here's the reason why. At the bare minimum, you don't have to worry about your center depth for at least 5 years, because that's how long Nelson had left on his contract the year following the trade. The biggest issue pre-Pelech injury during the 1920 season was the third line center spot. They tried remedying the Filppula loss by signing Derek Brassard. They tried that. They tried putting him in that role, and he failed. They tried moving him up to Nelson's right wing, and then he had his short spurt of success on that line. But then you had a massive hole in that third line still to fill. They tried putting Bardreau there. They tried putting Josh Bailey there during the California road trip. They tried putting slow-ass Koivula there. They tried everything possible, and before they had to revert to putting Brassard back in that spot. And you still had an issue. Pre-Pellick injury, they could not maximize the top 9 because they had a massive hole. Pajot, and yes, he got more ice time because you didn't have Chris Tierney as your 1C anymore. You didn't have Matt Duchene. You didn't have Kyle Turris anymore. He was producing in a more tougher environment because he was playing with Connor Brown and Brady Tkachuk. So the mindset is, hey, if I get Pajot, I put him in a third line role where he won't get the toughest matchups. He can maintain that type of pace, that type of point production. Still very good on the dot. Very good on that. I believe he was about 55%, if I'm not mistaken. Still a very good skater. He can attack when he's healthy, and he's very defensively responsible. Part of the Palmieri Zajac shutdown line against the Bruins, when healthy. So, am I disputing that the last 2 years of the deal are probably going to suck? No, of course it's probably going to suck. But it was a long-term organizational need because you didn't have any organizational center depth in your prospect pool. You didn't have any. You could have if you didn't pick Simon Holmstrom, but they don't have any centers aside from until they got Ratu. Now, Colin Adams ain't gonna make it to the NHL. Koivu ain't gonna make it. So they had to throw in that 4 to 5 year band-aid to buy time for players like Ratu potentially if they were gunning for him to develop into that role. That's me. That's my opinion on that.
I think that you can always find guys that could be, even if you organizational depth, you can find free agents of a guy. And here's the thing: as a bottom six player, I have, and this is where Grump and I don't disagree.
On this team, he is because he's not playing above Brock Nelson. That's the thing. On this team, he's your third line center.
On most teams, Jean-Gabriel Pajot is a third line center.
He wouldn't be on Colorado right now.
You think in Colorado he'd be a second line center?
Is he worse than JT Compher? Is he worse than Compher right now?
You think that move for Rodriguez was to sign as a second line center?
I think he and Compher are going to rotate the 2C and 3C spot because I believe they have one of their prospects that they're going to give a shot. I believe he was one of the he's one of their best centers in the pipeline. I forgot his name. Someone's probably going to mention it in the YouTube.
Alex Newhook?
No, it wasn't Newhook. It was somebody a couple years younger than him that they want to give a shot to. So I think signing Rodriguez and Compher, they're going to rotate in and out, and they give one of their centers a chance to grow into that role rather than give Kadri 7x7. The Islanders don't have that though. They didn't have that prospect, that center prospect in their pipeline when they made that Pajot trade. They don't have any.
Newhook is the guy who plays center for that. I'm telling you, Newhook's going to be the number 2 center on that squad, and it's going to be they're going to play Evan Rodriguez in that third line role as a third line center. They're planning on again. Newhook was, if I recall correctly, he was injured his draft last year. He slipped in the draft. Colorado was able to execute on that, and they got a guy who was one of those top 10 talents at a spot that was in the teens, and that's really panned out and will continue to pan out for him. That's a guy who I think is going to be thrown into that second line scenario. So they were able to say, hey, just like with Minnesota, they could say we're promoting from within. Just like Rossi, they could say we can lose Kevin Fiala because Rossi's coming up next year and he's going to play with the NHL roster and he's going to be thrown into a big time situation. Just like with Colorado, they said we don't need to have a guy like Kadri sign back because he's asking for a huge amount of money. We can promote from within with a guy like Alex Newhook, right? It's fortunate when you have those young guys you can promote from within. We don't have that, but I'm just saying we don't need to sign guys, bottom 6 players, to these huge long-term contracts. You don't see many teams doing that across the NHL. I'd much rather take an older vet on a short 1 or 2 year deal until a guy like an Evan Rodriguez becomes available. I'd be happy. Like for example, Zach Parise, he's a spot gap player, but he's a fantastic third line guy. There's no need to say, hey, we've got to sign Jean-Gabriel Pageau to this huge 5-year deal when you could find centers that are older in age, but still have a lot to bring to the table to play as a bottom 6 guy. And you can use those dollars in cap space to improve and have a more robust top 6. We just don't do that. That's the thing that always bothers me with the Islanders.
But Pageau was 27 when you traded for him, though. He wasn't old.
I think he's a smaller guy who plays a tough physical style and plays like he's got his hair on fire. He's a guy who has taken a lot of hits and tries to deliver a lot of hits on a small frame. I worry about that. That's a guy where as soon as a little bit of the step is gone, as soon as a little bit of the vigor is gone, he's not what he used to be. Like that's a guy who I think he was going to age a little poorly. That's all.
For me, I love JG Pageau. Always have. Loved him in Ottawa. TJ, you know that. Loved him.
You love the deal. I thought we overpaid for him, and I thought
we did overpay. We did overpay. I understand why we did, but we did overpay. A first and a second for a third line center is too much. Just is. Then we overpay with the extension. Did not have to give him $5 million per. Why? He's a third line center. Why is he a third line center? Because he's so so defensively responsible. That's why he plays third line center. In Ottawa, I think he was second line. I don't think he was first line in Ottawa.
He was first. Tierney was below him. Tierney was below him because they didn't have Duchesne and Kyle Turris anymore.
Okay. But when he was there and they had an NHL representative roster, he was not a first line center.
Correct. Really bad teams. He's the guy who's a top 6 on
every
bottom 6.
Every team has somebody who's going to put up points. And I love JG Pageau. Too long a contract. I don't think he played well last year. People said they thought he improved towards the end of the year. I don't know. He put up some points, but he was not the same player that he had been. A smaller guy like his whole style of play is predicated on energy, drive, determination. I love him. I love him. That's why he's a fan favorite. As soon as you lose some of that, the player's not the same anymore. You don't need to, and again, this is not 1990. There's a salary cap. So you got to be smarter. That's why you see all the good teams, what do? They load up on the top 2 lines, and then they piece the bottom lines together.
And it's easy to find a guy when you've got an elite top 6. It's easy to find 1 or 2 guys to fill a bottom 6 role that you acquire at the trade deadline, right? Okay, we don't have a lot of depth across the board, but they use that trade deadline to say, we're gathering a grit guy. We're gathering one of those guys from another team on an expiring deal that's a bottom 6 guy, or that will be a bottom 6 guy for us. You've got the elite talent. You cannot win a cup without elite offensive talent. Just that simple. We don't have it. That's the thing that always makes me just like, we don't. We went down a rabbit hole on that.
Well, here's the thing. Do you think Barzal's going to put up 59 points again next year?
I don't think so. I think he takes a step forward. I really do. I think this is a huge year for him too.
I think with Barzal, I think he'll be within the 80 to 85 point range if used properly. I think he'll come back to not necessarily how he was during his Calder year, because I think there's going to be a little bit more responsibility in his own end compared to the Doug Weight year. But I just think the way he plays, I think he's more of an 80-point guy. He's not a 59-point guy.
Yeah.
He was when he was playing with Anders Lee and Josh Bailey. Holding him back.
I hope that Jean-Gabriel Pageau shows us that Islander that we fell in love with the way he played. I mean, like he's a fan favorite for a reason. And don't get me wrong, I love his style of play. It is what every single fan loves to see. He fights for everything out there on the ice, takes nothing for granted. I love seeing that in a guy. I just worry if his facilities, right? The brain may say yes. The brain may say yes. The body just says no.
Can you attribute his regression to the fact that he wasn't necessarily able to get into a rhythm because of the long stoppages? Like they had like a week off because of a COVID pause, another week off because of a COVID pause in January. You don't attribute that to it because when the team played more games, vets like Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, and Pageau, and even Palmieri, who Grump gives the F-, and he earned it early on. He did. He earned the F- early on. When certain vets are able to get into a rhythm, they're able to produce more. You don't think Pageau was a beneficiary of playing more games at a shorter time?
I think this vets. I'm sorry, vets don't have the excuse of, oh, it's tough for me to get into rhythm. Mother effer, you've been in the league for how many goddamn years now? You're trying to tell me as a true professional you can't go out there and suit up out there on the ice and give the same effort level and the same exact production, dude? I expect that stuff out of young rookies, younger players who don't know what it's like to be a true vet. That excuse is one that holds no water for me, because those older players should never, and I mean never, have these huge lulls like we did. Chemistry.
I'm not saying because of effort. I'm saying from a mechanical standpoint. You just, it's like when you go to the gym, right? And you train like this rough leg workout. You're doing like 7 different exercises, and you're getting into rhythm consistently for like 5 weeks. You're making some nice gains. You're getting stronger, and then all of a sudden you lose a week off from the gym. A week later you come back. You're going to have a little bit of soreness there. You're gonna have soreness because your body isn't used to the workout because you haven't trained it in 2 weeks. I feel like with certain of these players, I feel like from like a mechanical standpoint, they just, for the most part, they couldn't get into a rhythm. But that's only a teeny part of why they missed.
When I used to work out heavy and I used to work out, I would be able to take a week off and be fine. I jump right back in it, right? Because that was just something I've done all year long. I was in there working out fastidious. I was in there 5-6 days a week. I'm able to pound it. I could take a week off. I'm still good. Now, when I take a week off, man, oh man, it takes me about a solid month to pick up where I left off. It's because I don't train as hard, because I'm older, because I just don't have the same exact passion and the level for it as I used to. As I get older, right? I'm not saying, oh, my body's old and decrepit. I don't have the love for it like I used to. And with these players, as their bodies start to get a little older, as their bodies start to wear down, when you take that week off from the gym, man, oh man, it's really tough to pick back up where you left off. That's just a part of the age and regression portion of it. So it's, I don't know here. When we're talking about Jean-Gabriel Pageau, I really hope he's in a situation where last year he had some undiagnosed niggling injury that kept him, playing at 85% for the entire year, and now he's able to get into it. Like not getting into, rhythm and roll, that doesn't affect the effort level on the ice. That this is a guy that's effort, skating 100% out there, throwing his body, being as aggressive as humanly possible. I didn't see any of that. And I worry about the lack of the effort. That has nothing to do, in my opinion, with
how was Zach Parise able to do it last year? He was even older, and he went through the same issues that the other guys went through, and he hustled every single night. He was one of the only guys who every single night you knew you were going to get a solid shift from him every single night. You didn't see that from Pageau. I always say Anders Lee played like dog shit up till a week before the trade deadline, till maybe a week or two after, and then he went back to being dog shit again. It just, you want to know what you do? Sit him. You don't play good, you sit. The days of you're automatically in the lineup under Barry Trotz doesn't matter. That should just end. As soon as you don't make the playoffs and you don't make a run, you just say, you know what, Anders, you played like crap today. You sit tomorrow. You want to get a veteran's attention, sit him on the bench. Firm believer in that. You want JG Pageau. I'm not going to give you 5 weeks to work out whatever you're going in. You'll go down to the minors. You'll just skate on your own. You're not playing until you're ready to go 100%. You let me know and I'll test you out. That's the level. That's the extent that I'm going to of rope I'm going to give you. Just like Kiefer Bellows. You keep out there playing hard, you're going to play every night. I start seeing you dog it, I'm going to bring one of those veterans who I've benched in your favor. I'm going to bring them back in. Competition. Yeah. If you're hurt, that's one thing. But if you're not, and like I said, it's too much of a country club atmosphere there. I feel that. And, for the most part under Trotz, they played up to that standard in the 2 shortened seasons. We didn't see that last year.
I'm sorry. I got derailed on that. I think it's a good conversation to have about Jean-Gabriel Pageau. He's one that I think kind of quietly sits under the radar. But if that's a guy who returns back, right? Let's say Grump and I are wrong. Last year, he just had that little bit of an injury. That's best case scenario. And we see what we've seen 2 years ago. Holy crap. we're in for a pleasant surprise, because I think that performance that he could have with Oliver Wahlstrom playing on his wing and a guy like Parise playing on his wing, you're talking about that is a line that has the ability as a third line really to score in droves, because those are three really competent players when all are firing on their cylinders. Yeah, Brandon.
So if I can interject, why should Oliver Wahlstrom be on the third line next year?
I just think
why should it be
off on the third line? I don't
why
think
can't why can't he play with Brock Nelson? Why not?
That's, you talk about a line with, oh man, maybe they do that, but those are all bigger frames. There's no creator on that line then, because Brock Nelson's a guy who's a sniper. He puts the puck in the net. He's not a fan. He occasionally creates, but he's not a creator by nature. Anders Lee's not a creator. That son of a gun just stands in front of the net. And Oliver Wahlstrom's not a creator.
Why is Anders Lee on the left wing?
So
because he makes $7 million a year, and then
on the third line.
So who cares how much he makes? To me, contracts don't justify playing time.
To me, he'd be on the bench. He'd be on the bench. I wouldn't even play him.
Like just because like players are given like $5 to $6 million doesn't mean they should be guaranteed a spot like on the top 6. If you suck in that role, you suck in that role. True. And you should be replaced. Like
absolutely.
Yeah, so just because like he's making $7 million doesn't mean I have to put you in the top 6. If I see Kiefer Bellows, who can skate the exact same way you can, and let's be fair here, his distribution game picked up big time last year. He was actually very, very good in that category. Knowing the fact that he's almost a decade younger than Lee, if I know that, hey, Bellows has a ceiling that he's yet to reach, and Lee, you've reached your ceiling, sorry, Lee, you know what? I'm going to put you with Pajot. I'm going to give Bellows and Wahlstrom a legitimate opportunity with Brock Nelson.
Could you stomach the idea of a third line, $7 million for Lee, $5 million for Pajot, $5 million for Bailey? Could you stomach a $17 million third line?
If it produces, I don't care.
I know. I just think about it in theory. I'm like, I might vomit every time I look at the line. How much money on the third line?
Because and again, I know it was only for 2 games, but when they were against Florida and then against Calgary, the second line was actually Bellows, Nelson, and Wahlstrom. And that line actually worked. Nelson actually looked much more mobile in that aspect. Bellows was doing his best to play to his size at the time, and Wahlstrom was snake bitten. And the line was very, very underrated defensively as well. So if you give that line more consistent opportunities to work, obviously you'll probably have to put Pelech and Pollock behind him. Why can't it work? Take a risk. Minnesota does it. St. Louis does it. Colorado does it. Why can't we?
I'd love to see Bellows. I mean, I know Beauvillier up top, but Bellows has always looked good with Barzal. He's always played when he's played with Barzal, he's scored. Isn't that what it's all about? And then I put Palmieri up there too. I mean, it was just like I said. I just hope Lane Lambert just throws everybody in a blender in preseason and says, you know what, none of the lines that we've used in the past is not going to be any prediction of what we're going to do going forward. Just absolutely not.
No, it should have no indicator on that. Absolutely not.
And Matt Martin sit at the end of the bench over there, smile to the ladies. They love you. Josh Bailey, sit in the other corner where your mom can feed you through a tube, and let the other guys play.
Throw another first pitch.
Yeah, why not? High and tight, nice and tight.
I'll start
40 feet away.
45. Sure it was 45. It was 45.
You're able to see the starred comments I've got there, right, Grumpy? On the side?
Yeah,
okay,
I see.
Because I'm going to go use the restroom here again. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll do the starred comments.
Hey, some of them actually have value, Grumpy. Don't just blast through everything like you like to, Grumpy. So
okay.
I almost
Jay
don't
Clark
want to know what's going to happen.
Jay Clark says, Trotz had trust issues. He definitely did not like Bellows. True. He kept him out of the lineup for so many games. Also true. Kept him from being more of a developed player. Also true. I think that all started when he had the banned substance thing in the bubble. I think they looked at him different, and that's one thing that I have a problem with on this team. You know what? People make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
Nate Schmidt, huge example.
Yeah, I mean, Here's the thing. Even I make mistakes. I know it's hard to believe. Even I occasionally will make a mistake. And I just think that the Islanders punish guys a long time if they have a perceived mistake. I could care less if any athlete uses steroids. I could care less. Does not matter to me. They're not hurting anyone but themselves in the long run. It is what it is. Do you have any touches, anything to add to that?
Do we even know what substance like he was using?
No, they
like
didn't.
Anabar, Ducatorelin, like anything like that? Nothing.
They never said.
It could have been Adderall for all we know.
Could have been anything.
Yeah, like I believe didn't like Richard Sherman get suspended for like Adderall back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken? He didn't take any to inject himself or anything. It was just a concentration medication.
The NFL could care less about what any of the players. The NFL does not make a big deal about it. Neither do the teams. They could care less. 4 weeks, okay, we'll work around it. Get your ass back out here on the field. You never hear. You look at baseball, right? They want to demonize guys who've done steroids. Hockey, demonize players who do steroids. Basketball could care less for the most part. And football, they endorse it. They don't. Okay, yeah, sure. Who cares? They could care less. How many times you got to get popped to get a 4-game suspension? I think it's 3.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't care. And you know what? They don't make a big deal about it on their television broadcast where you hear like in Major League Baseball, oh, this like Tatis, oh, we should have known. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Everybody's doing something. There's just the Hispanic players just happen to get popped because they ain't got the best doctors. I mean, the American doctors, they know. They just like, okay, they don't detect for this, take this. You look at the size, say to TJ all the time, you look at the size of Major League Baseball players today and back in 1980, there's no difference. I mean, there's a stark difference. Everyone looked skinny as a rail back then. And you look at him, Aaron Judge. Please don't tell me that Aaron Judge is clean. Absolutely not. You don't maintain that size and that musculature when you're playing 162 games in 240 days or 230 days. You just don't. You don't have time to work out to keep up that muscularity. You just don't.
Grumpy talking about steroids again.
Tatis got 80 games, right?
80 games.
Yeah, he got 80 games.
It killed me. He was on my fantasy team.
Oh, you and the fans.
All year, I carried that guy on the disabled list. All freaking year, I carried him on my DL. Him, DeGrom, carried these guys all year, right? I'm ready. Okay, just before playoffs, I'm going to get Fernando Tatis, going to put me over the top. 80 game suspension. They knew ahead of time. They waited until he was just ready to get activated. Then he comes out and he gets popped. Please, don't tell me you didn't know about it earlier in the year. We got through the first comment.
Okay, gotcha. You show Jake Clark's. Okay,
that's
gotcha.
That's the one we got.
Yeah, that's the one we read.
Hey, Grumpy, I'll let you read this, Grumpy.
It's refreshing to hear someone share my views. Thank you, Brandon. Dead on about Bellows being better under Lambert. We've said it here too, Frank. Thanks for listening. Salo and Wallstrom too. Blatantly obvious how scared they looked when Trotz came back. And we've talked about that on this show. I think when Barry Trotz was coach, all the young guys were gripping their sticks too tight because they knew the leash was about this long with them. For me, the biggest issue was just a couple of years ago, right, when Komarov was screwing up at the beginning of the year, cost them games. And Barzell makes one little mistake, man. He's raking them over the coals. Komarov, well, he's got a lot of leash, because Komarov sucks. He's finished.
Like who cares?
And this is the guy that you want to give a long leash to, and you're going to screw the best player on your team and grind him into the dirt because he doesn't do everything that you want to do. Again, the square peg and round hole theory, that just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And then Brian J says, Grumpy, get the Fisherman jersey on. It's the best one.
It is the best one.
And the D-Cut says, team lacks talent. Lou fails again.
We'll see.
Mookie Betzer says here, can we get more 80s Grumpy photos, please?
I actually need more of those photos.
Oh, good gracious. Then Grumpy. Doug R said, they need to break up the fourth line, but it sounds like Lambert is not ready to do that yet.
Then get ready for a failed fourth line.
I saw that quote earlier. I didn't read too much into it. I just think it's a general coach speak. Like, you're obviously not going to say, like, hey, the fourth line sucks. Like, he's not going to talk like a fan like we do. he has to back him up. It's anybody's ball game, in my opinion. Now, I think Cizikas will keep the fourth line center spot by default, but if you suck, you suck.
He's only got 5 more years left on that deal.
Brian P says Martin to the bench, Parise to the fourth line, Bellows to the third line left wing. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that either. I think that Matt Martin has no use, no value. And I think that Parise is a guy who, at this point in his career, he's definitely a Swiss Army knife. He does good, and he's got great defensive responsibility. I still think he's above average skater at his age in short spurts. I think a guy who brings offensive touch to the team too. I think that, you're looking at it, then I think that's you lose a little bit of the physicality aspect and the mean and type of, hey, we're going to be a mean, nasty guy. I mean, then it pretty much all falls on Romanoff's shoulders, doesn't it?
He doesn't fight anymore.
He fights, he just loses. Martin does.
He doesn't fight.
Yeah, he doesn't fight.
Sisters of the Poor. No, he does fight. He did get in a few fights last year.
Come on.
Don't make me pull up the fights, Grumpy.
Send Bailey out there to get beat up. That can help us. He'll be in a penalty box for 5 minutes. They probably wouldn't even send him in there for 5. Like, all right, Josh. I mean,
go on a warning.
Because you got blood all over your face. Just go back to the locker room. Just come on.
In a perfect world, you shouldn't be playing your fourth line more than 10 minutes a game, anyways.
That's right.
Your top 9 should be getting the bulk of the time, regardless. Like Pat Maroon averaged barely 10 minutes a game during Tampa's Cup run, maybe less if I'm not mistaken. Like if you can find a way to have a working top 9, you don't have to put the fourth line out there all the time. You don't have to. Just like if you have Pellican, Pollock, and Romanov Dobson working, you don't have to put Cholowski or Sal with Mayfield out there all the time. Let your top 4 and your top 9 do the work. That's their job.
By the way, Matt Martin had 6 fights last year. I'm just saying, for a guy that played, he played like 70-something games? He fights like once every 10 games.
Did he play that many games?
Yes, he did.
Like 70-something, I think.
I thought he only played like 50. That's how invisible he was.
Oh.
I didn't even realize he was on the ice when he was.
I tell you, I'm trying to pull it up here.
Invisible.
How many games did he play? Let's see.
Couple games played, 71.
Oh,
games.
Wow.
Yeah. So, he played too much. He doesn't need to have a
That's about 68 too many games for him.
Tommy P says here, Matt Barzal will play with more freedom this season. Absolutely. That's best case. Absolutely.
That's what Lambert should do. He should come and say, hey, Matt, let's be defensively responsible. Yeah, but do what you do best. I want you to do what you do best. That's what his message should be to all the players. Do what you do best. Like, Josh, go piss yourself in a corner. I know that's what you do best. But all the other guys, hey, do what you do best. Let's keep it in a team construct. I don't want to tie you down. I not want to shackle your offensive ability, Matt Barzal. I don't want, Anders Lee, I'd like you to move up and down the ice a little bit. Try that. I mean, I know it's not what you do best, but try to work on that. Pajot, do the things you do. Put the players in the best chance to succeed. Don't try to stifle what they do best to fit the system. Change the system to fit the player.
Mm-hmm. Got to hear Goon saying possible SNY/MSG advertising slogan. If you want to be entertained by late season collapses, butt fumbles, and losing playoff games, losing playoff game 7, 1-0 on a shorthanded goal, the Mets, Jets, Islanders will satisfy.
No, I'm sorry. That's too long of a slogan. Slogan has to be shorter. Work on it, Goon.
Jay Clark says first line of Bellows, Barzal, and Bavillier.
I could live with that. I just think Palmieri.
Barzal had played well with Bellows in the limited time they played together 2 years ago.
And
so
Bavillier, we know they have chemistry. I mean, here's the thing. The last time he played, how old was Bavillier when they played together? 21?
Yep,
22?
21.
I mean, that was a long time ago. Maybe he plays a little bit harder if he's with his buddy Barzal. We know they're thick as thieves, those two. And I think Bellows is a nice mix. Why not the triple B line, the bumblebee line, whatever the hell you want to call it? B cubed. I don't care, whatever you want to call it.
B cubed here.
As long as if you're playing Bavillier with Barzal, as long as you're not having a playmaker on your opposite wing, it'll still work.
Yes.
Like you can't again, just anytime Trotz put Bavillier with Barzal, with the exception of 4 games in 2018-19, it was always Bailey on the opposite side, and that killed the whole purpose of that line.
Bailey's a line killer.
Yeah, on his own line.
You want your franchise to lose? Just put Josh Bailey on it.
Tommy B says,
No. If you want your franchise to lose, put Bailey out there as the extra attacker.
Oof. Yeah, there you go.
That too. My God.
Always.
Put him out there in 3-on-3. Put him out there as a shootout shot too. Tommy B says, Matt Martin needs a permanent spot on the show instead of the 4th line. I'd be down for that, but I don't think Matty Martz would be. I don't think we've got much to offer Matty Martz. That's for certain.
Nobody could help us out. That's all I really care about.
Jason T says Barzal's best year the team was disgusting. We gave up a million goals. It was a terrible system. Yep. So again, just play a little bit more defensive oriented, but still having a little bit more instinctual presence instead of being so structured. I think we'll see more production of Matt Barzal. Pac-Man says breaking up the 4th line isn't enough. Get rid of them, especially Martin.
Hey, do you remember the movie Stormship Troopers?
Yes.
Okay. The first battle where they go on to Planet K, whatever it is, and they got all the things are out there. And Ace is the company, like whatever the squad leader. And he says, Ace, what should we do? He's like, And then Johnny Rigo says, kill them all. That's what they should do with the 4th line.
Oh man.
That's what they should do, man.
John A says it sounds like Schlosky might win the 6th defenseman spot. It's early yet, but I think he's definitely in the driver's seat.
I for someone to say, and if Lambert really thinks that way, I'm thinking that maybe he's not the guy I want him to be. To bring in a guy who was put on waivers last year and just say, you're the guy, you're the favorite. No, I want to see what you got. It's like putting Lucas Spiza. It's like putting Lucas Spiza on a PTO, coming in to play over Adam Pelech because he's got the name. He's
I was the early draft pick. Yeah. I tell you now. These are a few comments that make sense, but it kind of makes me a little upset. But it does make sense. Matthew S saying Salah deserves a spot. Aho sucks. Schlosky can be the 7th. Now here is something that I think is true. Tommy B said he called Bridgeport a shithole, and that might be an issue. Could you see Lou Lamoriello reaching his hand in there and that having an issue with the organization because he said, yeah, it's kind of shitty here. And again, I was like, oh, great. I said, I have no problem at all with you voicing that, but did that put him in the boot? Did it put him in the doghouse, Grump? Because he said, we know how this team is. We just talked about with Kiefer Bellows. He took steroids during that time. Who cares? It doesn't bother me. And then you got, hey, anything that goes against the grain causes an issue. But it does shock me a lot with how much they covered over the tracks of Sebastian Aho's DUI or whatever, and how strict they are over there in Sweden. I do find that kind of odd.
I don't care what he called Bridgeport. Is he the best player? We just talked about this. Again, what do you care? What do you care if Bodie Wild is vaccinated? What do you care if Kiefer Bellows used steroids or whatever he did? What do you care if Josh Hosang had personal problems with the Islanders before you got there? None of these things should have any bearing. Every year should be a clean slate, every single year. And then you either earn or lose your time based on how you perform and how you fit in the room. Period. Dennis Cholowski, you know what I heard? I heard he sucks. So he shouldn't even get a shot. He shouldn't even been signed to a contract because he sucks and blows. He's a combo player.
Wasn't Alexander Radulov not the best locker room guy back in Nashville? And then he was given other opportunities to play at a top 6 role in Montreal, followed by Dallas. To me, it shouldn't matter. Is Bridgeport the best place to drive in when it comes to parking at Total Mortgage Arena? No, it's horrible. It's really annoying to park in the dirt area and whatnot. It's not the best area, but who cares?
Tyler Seguin had issues in Boston, and they dumped him, a talent like that. And he's turned out to be, all right, he's not a top 5 player, but certainly
This year he took a step back. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been really, really good for a lot of years. It's like, okay, sometimes guys need a change of scenery. Then you know what you do? You move them. You don't keep them and bury them until they're of no use to anybody. It just sounds like the Islanders seem to punish players for their entire careers, where they should really be more considerate about putting a winner on the ice.
I also think Sal, if he did say that, I think he's said what he said because of the amount of money that he was only making in the AHL compared to the NHL. So I think he called Bridgeport a haul because he wasn't really getting paid anything in terms of minor league salary. Now he is on the waiver exempt deal that he signed, but money talks sometimes, I guess.
It always does.
Got comments here from Freedom Fun and Adventure. It says, I fully expect the Islanders to be better due to the normal schedule and growth from excellent young players like Sorokin, Dobson, Romanoff, Wallstrom, Barzal. A good general manager would have added and put out the trash. Talking about Lou as well.
That's fair. All of it.
John A says here, Brandy Gaines is the opposite of Daniel Freeman, who was all over Trump. Oh, no. Here's the thing.
Well, listen. I blame Lou on a lot of stuff too. Like, I don't think Martin should have gotten 4 years, 2 max. I don't think Cizikas should have gotten 6 years, 3 max. I wasn't a fan of the Komarov 4-year deal that he got
with no trade clauses.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of. I wasn't a fan of the Palmieri Zajac trade because I know there was a better option out there in terms of the value that they gave up. If you were utilizing Palmieri properly, the pick value was warranted. But Sam Reinhart and Curtis Lazar were right there, much younger than Palmieri, and he got traded to a divisional rival for a 2022 second and a backup at best goaltender, Devin Levi. You don't think the Islanders could have done that? Come on.
What I loved is, too, that we brought him in originally with the thought process of he might play left wing with Matt Barzal. Remember, we tried him out on his off wing for a few games at the left wing, even though he hadn't done that since the Anaheim days. That was originally why we brought him in, quote unquote. He played all the off wing for like 5-6 games, and he said, nah, that shit ain't going to work.
I think the funniest thing is when the Islanders trade for Palmieri, Arthur Staple compared him to an Anders Lee guy. I'm like, no, that's not how Palmieri got his goals.
He slept through most of his job.
Yeah, he got his goals in the power play playing in the OV spot, something Hiller never did. Like, he always put Palmieri in the bumper role. That's not where he got his goals. Like, don't deviate from what worked for him.
Palmieri played for the Devils. That's all I have to say.
Grumpy's going to like this one. Brian J says, don't worry, guys. When Lou steps down, Fredo Lamarillo will take over. I bet it's a gentleman handshake under the table.
There's no way Fredo can be the new general manager.
Let me ask you this, Grumpy. Let's say hypothetically Fredo, a.k.a. Chris Lamarillo, takes over as general manager after Lou this season. Would that cause you to stop pulling for the Islander? Would that make you lose all hope? Would that be one of the lowest points of being an Islander fan if Fredo is put in then as the next general manager? A hostile takeover.
Sometimes people say this show has a negative bent. I'm just going to say, if Fredo's GM, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's the nicest thing I can say. He's not qualified to be an NHL general manager. No.
Oh my God.
He learned under the fossil.
No. Hey, listen. If you could survive the mid to late 90s, I think you'd be able to survive that. I don't think Chris is going to take over for Lou. I think I pitched this a couple months ago. My ideal GM replacement would be Paul Fenton. My opinion, wasn't given the best chance to succeed in Minnesota. He only got 1 year under them. Did he make a few questionable moves? Sure. But, what are you supposed to do when you're operating under a $68 million salary cap because of the Parise and Suter deals? Now, you could do what Guerin did 2 years late following his firing and buy him out, but it only buys 2 years of Kevin Fiala. So speaking of which, Fenton brought Fiala to Minnesota, brought Ryan Hartman, signed Zuccarello to that deal, which it's working right now because he's playing with dollar bill Kirill right now. He made a few underrated moves. He has the tie with Lane Lambert back in the Milwaukee Admiral days. I think it's a good fit.
He was with Tampa Bay before going to Minnesota. Isn't that correct, Fenton? I think he was with
No.
Tampa Bay.
He was in Nashville. He was in Nashville before he went to Minnesota, and then he went to Columbus, I believe, for a year or two.
Okay. I want somebody under the age of 70. Let's say that.
He's under 70.
Yeah. And Fredo's got to be in his 50s for certain.
And Matthew S. They're agreeing with us there. Sometimes you have to take chances with younger players and throw them in the deep end.
Barry Trotz's biggest mistake at the end of last year, when you knew they weren't making the playoffs, was just to bench the old guys, play every young player you have, win, lose, doesn't matter. See who could be part of the solution going forward, because you still don't know, because these guys have not been given a legitimate shot. Still don't know.
Wasn't Wallstrom on the fourth line at one point? I believe. Yeah, he was on the fourth line. And mind you, this was when Pajot was out on COVID protocol. They put Wallstrom on the fourth line.
Yeah, I mean, Wallstrom hated Trotz. We know Barzell hated Trotz. We know that.
Yep.
Given Dobson, I don't think he hates anybody, but it's funny how his game picked up when Lambert came in for those few games. His game totally changed. And he just said, I think they said to him, hey, do whatever you got to do. Play your game. Play your game. You saw him start rushing the puck.
Well, he didn't get his minutes, though, until Pollock got hurt. Trotz was forced to give Dobson that ice time. He wasn't willing to give Dobson that ice time. You would never seen Dobson get over 20-plus minutes a night if Pollock never got hurt. Under Trotz, you wouldn't have.
And think about it. It's the same situation they had when Hickey was starting over Devon Taves, and Devon Taves was the best defenseman in camp. I remember watching every one of those preseason games, watching some of the practices. I mean, he was the best defenseman on the ice, and he gets sent down because Trotz wants to go with the veteran. And then Hickey gets hurt. The rest is history, as they say. And he came up, and he hasn't missed a beat since then. I mean, the steadfast refusal of playing young guys was Barry Trotz's biggest down. I think that was the beginning of the end for him, because everyone knows at some point in time, you got to transition away from the geezer squad. We're not going anywhere with this group. Lamoriello doesn't realize. Actually, I think Lamoriello is kind of between a rock and a hard place. He screwed up signing all those contract extensions, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. He can't figure out a creative way to get out of it. So he's just kind of riding it out for the next 2 years.
I think there was more of a rift between Lou and Trotz than people realize, because the previous two off seasons, not this one where Trotz got fired, the previous two off seasons, Lou has preached younger guys playing and getting more ice time, with Trotz literally doing the contrary. So, I still maintain that Trotz getting fired was more of an anxiety action, because if I'm Lou and if I see players like Ratu and to a much lesser extent Holmstrom, chomping up the bit, young players, and I see how Trotz is handling these other players like Bellows, Wallstrom, Dobson, how confident would I feel in you handling these players coming afterwards? I wouldn't feel confident.
That's why he lost his job in Washington. People don't remember he would not play the young guys. He was gone regardless if they won the Stanley Cup or not. Everyone knew that was his last year. Everyone knew.
It was well with that. So Ted Leonis, he's cheap when it comes to paying coaches in general. So he said, you know what? I'm not going to invest long-term money in Barry Trotz, because all I have to do is just hopefully get a better coach than Adam Oates and Dale Hunter, because this squad is immensely talented. Now, yes, they made a mistake by hiring Todd Reardon, but by the time Pierre Laviolette came around 2 years later, it was already too late. The core got too old to go for deep playoff pushes like it was proven being able to do under Trotz. It was already too late at that point. So
I still wonder why people keep on saying Washington's going to fall off the planet when the Islanders, who are arguably older for the most part, certainly in the forward group, are going to improve.
It has everything to do with, now you no longer have, probably Nick Backstrom may never be the same if he even does come back and play with that huge hip with a huge hip surgery in his 30s. And you've got Tom Wilson, a guy who's going to miss multiple months on the ACL. We saw on our team how long it takes players to recover from ACL surgeries. So even if Tom Wilson gets to the postseason, he should only be a shell of what he was. Maybe we shouldn't see Tom Wilson until next year. So Tom Wilson's effectively ruled out too, because Wilson won't put up points because he's coming off an ACL.
Okay, so they're missing those two guys, but think about it. We still have Lee and Bailey on our team.
Oshie, what is now 35, 36? I can see them taking a step back is all I mean.
I think Nicholas Backstrom as a 1C, 2C player, I think a loss of a player of that caliber is more substantial than a 30-year-old Lee and 30-year-old Bailey being off the team. And I think that could hurt the Capitals a lot more than, media people are letting on.
We got here a few more comments. Brian J says it's a scoring league. Defense doesn't win games anymore. I think balanced approach is probably best. So, and as neutral as I could be, but a balanced approach usually helps win.
Okay, you have to be able to play defense, but certainly the way the rules are being implemented, what the NHL wants is more scoring. They could care less about the 1990s, 1980s style of play, which was defense, defense, defense. They want eyeballs watching these games. They want the Trevor Zegrasses. They want the Connor McDavids. They want the sensational plays. That's what they want. So they're going to do everything possible so that these guys can show their skills and their talent out there. That's why the Lou Lamoriello 1990s approach and the Barry Trotz defensive approach does not work. Barry Trotz, the 1 year he won, it's not like, he was knocking out of the park with Washington. I mean, he had supreme talent, and they played an expansion team.
Yeah, you beat a Penguins team who didn't have Nick Bonino anymore.
They were banged up.
Yeah, so it wasn't the same team, and Tampa had a few unproven players. Like Braden Point wasn't used to the grind yet at the time, like he is now. You had a bit of maturity issues with some of the core players in Tampa that Washington beat. Hey, good for them for taking advantage, but I'm not gonna necessarily put Trotz on like this God tier list of coaches.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
He is a good coach. When he has experience, skill, he can maximize it. But when they peak, he can't adapt.
That's right. And that's why you see him struggle in playoffs.
Jay Clark says, if Barry Trotz did not miss any games and Lane Lambert didn't coach any games, would Lou still have fired Barry Trotz?
Yes.
Yes. No doubt.
I think so too, but I think it would just leave more question marks for us as fans, because I think that they didn't want to lose Lane Lambert. He was familiar with the team. I think that had a lot to do with Lou's hiring of the head coach. Familiar with the players, familiar with the team. We don't have to worry about an upheaval or change in style, or massive change in the style that we play. I think it's going to be very similar, but with slight tweaks to it. I don't expect him to be completely different on that front.
The next head coach is going to be
You're already talking about, real quick, you're already talking about the next head coach after Lane Lambert.
Yeah. Is going to be totally different. It's going to be a totally different style. In 2 years, most of the veterans on this team are gone. Yeah. Still have a couple of the stragglers, but I was happy with what they did in the draft last year, just from a stylistic, the way they were looking at players, all guys who could skate, guys who had skill, not big guys, not grinder types, guys who put the puck in the net. And I'm just talking about the third round pick, obviously, but it's a deviation from what they've been looking for in the last couple of years. And I think Lamoriello finally realizes, okay, this team is at the end of its rope. We have to transition to the modern game. He's taken one more kick at the can this year, and then it's blow it up time. I'm going to tell you what. I'll tell you what, at deadline, if we're not in playoff contention, I'm trying to get rid of Pajot. I'm trying to get rid of Nelson. I'm trying to get rid of everybody who's got value.
Well, priority number one is Varlamov, Mayfield are top two priorities on my book. And you talked about a third round. You're talking about Quinn Finley, Grumpy, who is inferior to the Ludwig Pearson that we skipped over in that round, Grump.
You're not a fan of Callie Odelius?
No, I like him.
I like Odelius. I
do, but he's not a winger. I would just mention him as a winger.
Oh, okay.
But I do like the defense. The defensemen they were picking up are puck moving defensemen, right? That's the modern NHL.
Yeah, Odelius.
Pulak's not a puck mover. The only puck mover we have on this team really is Dobson.
And I'd say that Romanov
is not a puck mover.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Dobson's Pellick, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not counting on him to be a puck mover, rush up the ice guy. I'm not.
Mark A said the Islanders will go where Sorokin takes them. I think that's an interesting point. If Sorokin has another lights out year, I think that we're going to be a really, really competitive team. Let's say Sorokin struggles a bit. Not saying there's any reason to believe that, but goalies go through hot and cold time periods throughout their careers. Some years when they're lights out, some years it looks like this is not the same guy he was a year before. He's still young. He's in the prime of his career. I don't anticipate that for Sorokin. But, our season goes as Sorokin takes it, I think. Sorokin and Varlamov.
For me, forget Varlamov. Varlamov's not taking you anywhere. It's Sorokin. Now, is Sorokin going to be as good as he was last year? I think his numbers could be better, but he might not be as good as he was last year, if you know what I mean. Because I think defensively, the Islanders are going to be better.
Yeah.
I just think defensively they're going to be better. He was spectacular last year. His goals against was 2.4, whatever the heck it was. But I mean, he was spectacular to keep it that low. He could take a step back and play, and his numbers could actually be a little bit better, if you know what I mean. Kind of like Shesterkin with the Rangers, right?
Oh.
We expect him to take a little bit of regression, right? But if they improve defensively, maybe it won't matter that much. I mean, that's and goaltenders are very
up and down. Yep. Well, Shesterkin had like a .94 save percentage for 4.5 months.
That's pretty good
on that Rangers team. That's godly.
Yeah.
I still think he should have won the Hart because how important he was for that Rangers team. I know we're deviating from the Islanders a second. In terms of how he was important for that Rangers team compared to how Matthews was for Toronto, I think Shesterkin was of more importance for that team than Matthews was. Because, if Shesterkin goes down by an injury, they're screwed.
Matthews won the Hart Trophy?
Yes, he did.
Oh, God.
Yeah, yes. The Toronto media, Grumpy. Never underestimate the Toronto media. John A says Cap will be at $100 million in no time. Mark A.
I won't say 100. I'll say 90.
Mark A said, how is Shalofsky? He's a guy who's more offensive oriented. He's a guy who's a good puck mover. He's a guy who he's going to be a liability in the defensive zone. People complained about guys like Sebastian Aho, always not great defensively. This guy's going to be another liability on the defensive side of the puck.
He wasn't good enough to play for Detroit.
He wasn't good enough to play for Detroit in their miserable years. Wasn't good enough to play for. Wasn't good enough to be on the Seattle team. Wasn't good enough to play for the Washington Capitals. You do the math. He wasn't good enough to make an impact anywhere he's been. He's been on 3 teams in the last as many years. And
who was he replacing? Who was he going to replace in Seattle though on the left side?
I'm saying for an expansion team.
Oh yeah.
Role, it's not great, and that Washington Capitals team can't find a role there, and I can't find a role in Detroit. I mean, I don't have extremely high hopes. I'm going to say that it's not like, hey, we're finding a diamond in the rough that every other team passed over when he was waived.
How many 24, 25-year-old defensemen, if they're any good, are left exposed in the expansion draft? None.
Yeah.
Who make nothing. They're not exposed.
Mookie Betzer says, I'm picturing an 80s grump with a mustache, mullet, stone-washed jeans, listening to Shadow of the Night.
Shadows of the Night. That's Pat Benatar. Yeah.
On the way to the Collie to root for his dynasty.
I had one of those long, those little handlebar mustaches down here. I did have a mullet. I used to get the perm on it. Now, if I had a perm, whatever I had left would fall out when they took out the curlers. So, but not stonewashed jeans. I did not have stonewashed jeans.
Oh, good. Goon says, is it possible that scumbag Brett Favre will get a slap on the wrist and not do any jail time when the texts show that he knew he was pulling a well? Oh shit, Goon, that's new information for me. I didn't know they had text. Did you send me a text message to that, Grump?
That's for tomorrow's show. Are we doing the show tomorrow or no?
I'm not sure. We might. I told you I might go to the zoo. With the lovely Paige.
Go to the zoo. I hope you don't, because they might try to lock you back up.
That's what I was about to say. I got to make sure I'm very sneaky and
In a monkey
I
cage.
can
Put you back in a monkey cage.
get me back into the gorilla pen, Grumpy.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. So hold on. He's got text messages showing that Brett Favre was aware of this shit.
He was, yeah.
It's
He didn't want the media to find out about it, though. Yeah.
You pilot. Yeah. We've talked about that. I'm like, oh, what's the likelihood? I mean, the DiBiase's are also tied up. What's the likelihood that all of them could possibly be?
Okay, I'm going to say that Brett Favre was the ringleader, and everybody else was kind of riding his coattails.
Oh my God! Do you know what, Brett Favre? I told you that's why he said he had those thousands of concussions. Now he's about to say, I'm going to blame it on
brain damage. I got brain damage.
I don't want to take any ownership for defrauding out the state when those time periods were needed and people were really in need. I'm going to go blame it on something else instead of taking ownership. Yeah.
Isn't Mississippi the poorest state in the country? Yep. And you're taking money from them?
Because guys like Brett Favre,
who made $100 million in his career.
To answer the question,
how much money do you think he made on those Wrangler commercials for his little jeans? I'm sorry, Grumpy.
To answer the question, yes, it is possible that he could just get a slap on the wrist. People who are celebrities and who are rich, they tend not to have the same justice system applied to them as other people.
Absolutely. If you make money, even if you're a B-list celebrity, they're not going to do it. Like, I think about that. Don't even get me started on that. The people that Favre will unjustly get minimal punishment, just like Juicy Smollett. I mean, like all these people who break the law or all these people who do things wrong, if you have money, it's always the haves and the have-nots. This always has been.
Smollett, for me, is worse than Favre.
I don't know, man. How many millions of dollars did he defraud out of the state?
Okay, he tried.
I haven't seen the text messages, though, yet.
He tried to create racial disharmony, which is more harmful than $5 million. I'm just telling you. In the long run, that's more harmful.
Yeah, they're both pretty bad. That's all.
And he continued to lie about it. At least Favre, when he got found out, yeah, here's your money back.
How can you lie about that? Trust me, when they were like, hey, Brett, hey, trust me, if that just got released now, the receipts, the text messages, trust me, he was well aware when they came and said, we've got text messages too. And he must have been shitting the brick. I cannot wait to read those text messages once we get off the show tonight. Brett Favre, my God, nothing pisses me off more than when they do stuff like that, because he has no need for that, but just pure freaking self-motive. And
okay, I'm going to go back from before your time. O.J. Simpson. If he wasn't O.J. Simpson,
he never gets away with it.
Absolutely, he's convicted.
Yes,
absolutely. And I lived through that time. I mean, both of you are too young to know what really happened. But
no, a lot of people claim that he did it. He did it.
Oh, he absolutely did it. He absolutely did.
It was all about fame. They're like, hey, you couldn't find the glove. Like, where'd you put the glove? Like,
it's come defensive. The defense was so trying to make him try on a leather glove that had blood on it. Leather, for people who don't know, when it's been exposed to liquids, it kind of crinkles up over time, even if it just does. And then Johnny Cochran, his great defense was, if the glove, and he's got like a plastic glove, and he's going to try to put this glove over the top. And he says, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
And it's catchy as shit. Think about it from that side as a lawyer. That was freaking catchy as shit, and a fantastic job on his side. That was a hell of a job of that lawyer. Not in a good tension, right? Because he gets a guy off who's a murderer, but still.
But the whole thing was, if you talk to people at the time, the racial divide was just like it is today. Like 95% of white people said he was guilty. 95% of black people said he was innocent.
Yeah, there was a skit like Chris Rock said, like, black people too happy, white people too mad.
Oh,
yeah. And he's like, I haven't seen white people that mad since they canceled MASH.
Oh, man. Grumpy likes MASH.
I remember MASH when I was a kid.
It was a great show. Great show.
The theme song was so catchy.
And that was actually from the movie, too. The same music was in the movie.
Yep.
I cannot say if I ever watched an episode of MASH, but that I'm sure it comes to no shock of the Grumpy. I remember you used to try to put that crap on when we were young. I was like, ugh. I do remember that. JG says here, Too many ifs and buts for me when it comes to the Islanders. I'll keep my expectations low. This way, I'll never be disappointed.
That's how you live a healthy life.
Yep.
Right.
Going with no expectations. D-Cut says, Salo bitched to the media after being sent down. Old man Lou wasn't happy. Freaking bastard, old man Lou. Hello.
Okay, so I would be pretty unhappy too if I'm making only 70 grand in Bridgeport. I'd be pretty unhappy too if I were Salo.
They probably told when he brought over, oh yeah, we're going to utilize you in XYZ. He's thinking, oh, fantastic, I'm going to get myself a fat paycheck. And he's like, oh, never mind. Bob, son of Stan, says, good evening, guys. 4 weeks to opening night. Good, bad, whatever. I love hockey, and let's go Islanders.
I cannot believe it's 4 weeks from tonight.
Dude, holy crap. You're not kidding. John A. says Mayfield will hopefully mash Shawalski's defensive flaws. Limited minutes anyway.
Okay.
D-Cut says 48 minutes in, and Phil's Fax name comes out on TJ's mouth. It's a new record.
It must be while I went off and TJ lost his mind. I had to bring up Phil's Fax.
No, Bob, son of Stan, says, hey, I'm a Mets fan, so you know where the hope comes from. Yeah, man, Bob, I tell you. Hey.
I wonder if he's a Knicks fan, because that's worse.
No, he's a Nets fan because it's Jets,
Nets.
Nets, and Islanders. Almost always.
So I'm Islanders, Giants, Mets, and Knicks.
Okay, so you're 50-50. But see, most people are. It's like the hoity-toities are Giants, like historical Giants, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers. They're usually all the same in that group. And then the tier below is Islanders, Nets, Mets, and Jets. Me, I like all the New York teams.
Oh, look at you. Oh, look at you, Grumpy. So friendly and amicable. The amicable old man. Mark A. says Bailey will score 18 goals. Holy shit.
I believe he'll score 18 goals before the end of his career.
Oh, that's about to say. I'm waiting for that snap, Mark. Tommy B said, Grumpy old man spilled something on the couch. That's why he'll be back later. And he also says, perhaps it was breaking news. Breaking news. The grumpy old man was trying to charge his electric car and took out the entire power grid.
I will never own an electric car.
Why not, Grumpy? If it's cheap, they're going to incentivize it where it's cheap.
They're more expensive than regular cars. $20,000 more expensive than getting a regular car. That doesn't sound like cheap to me.
No, I'm just saying. You say never. If they incentivize it, so never. Even if an electric car was cheaper than a gas powered car. Never. If they say Grumpy, we're giving you an electric car for free because the grumpy old man is the most important individual, the most important influencer of electric cars and electric vehicles. We need to get, like, for example, like Raycon's going to send you those earbuds.
That's what I want.
The electric car company sends you a free car. You're going to say, I'm not driving it. I don't want an electric car.
I've never driven an electric car. You know how come? Because I took one out once and I couldn't make it back for the podcast because I ran out of my little AC adapter over there and I can't get here anymore.
Grumpy,
I'm never driving a freaking electrical car. I like something that's like, okay, I know I can pull into a gas station, fill the damn thing up. I don't want to have to pull into some charging station and sit there for 4 hours to try to charge up my car so I go another 100 miles. You want to know how long it would take me from here to go to Disney World? Probably take me 5 days to get down to Disney World using the damn electric car.
Grumpy, I want them to
How about we get rid of private jets, assholes? How about we get rid of that shit?
I want you
my car.
Here's the thing. I want them to give you, when they give you an electric car, because we're going to get it. We got a deal coming in with Tesla, right? Elon Musk, I got off the phone with him earlier today. Grump, they said they're going to give you special modifications. So instead of the quick charge that takes like 30 minutes, we're going to give you the charge, the elongated charge, the 5-hour charge. So anytime you go somewhere, Grumpy, you really get to have the experience of where you are. Grumpy, I think at your age, your advanced age now, slowing things down will be good for you, Grumpy.
At my advanced age, the last thing I want is sitting around some freaking charging station, sitting there.
Honestly, I'd like you to whistle and just stick around over. That'd be a good idea.
What are you doing over there, old man?
Let me get Elon back on the phone, Grumpy, and we'll broker out a deal. He get you a free car, Grumpy, and he'll just go ahead and you'll just get a spigot. I don't know. You just plug one into the electrical outlet at your house, and there you go.
I don't have an extension cord long enough to make the trips I need to make.
Frank V says here, man, TJ and Brandon Gaines, 2 fantastic voices for radio. Well, thank you. I know the Grumpy doesn't have.
Wow. Oh, okay.
I thought
I
he was
appreciate it.
I thought he was going to say two faces for radio.
I was about to say, I knew Grumpy was going there. D-Cut says, looks like Lou Lamoriello's hostage video from the draft lottery when Grumpy had that blacked out screen.
Oh.
And the grumpy old man looks like Joe Biden's speech over a week ago. And it's Palpatine, Grumpy Palpatine, John A. says. And Brian J. said, hell in the cell with Grump. Oh, goodness gracious. D-Cut was saying, TJ made one of his little buddies blow up the transformer near the Grumpy's house. A backdoor plan to get Phil's facts back on the show tonight. And are you broadcasting from California? Tony B says here.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we're gonna forget. I don't want to get it to California.
Yeah, Matthew D says here. After our home opener against Florida, does Ratu get a look with Matt Barzal for the first 4 games before we play Tampa, just to start out the season? Do you think he will surprise us in our own preseason at the end of or out by the end of the preseason? Talking about Atu Ratu.
If Lane Lambert really wants to make a statement, he keeps Ratu up and plays him.
Wow.
And benches veterans. That's sending a statement. Hey, we're serious about changing this team over.
Oh my God, dude! I honestly, Ratu needs to be in Bridgeport. Ratu needs to be in Bridgeport.
I think that's a bridge too far for him, honestly. But Billy Martin used to do that shit all the time as Yankees manager, all the time. Every single year, some guy who was a single A player the year before would somehow be in the Yankees lineup every single year.
Is this the third time TJ's left?
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, he's like that all the time. No, that's cool because now I get to do the comments. We get to them really fast. Frank Kaplan says, grumpy old man doing his best Islanders Vegas imitation from Barclays when a lot of the lights were out at the Ravens 49ers Super Bowl. I do remember that. Then Thomas Amato says, the shadow is the greatest teacher for how to come to the light. Grump lurking in the darkness like the Islanders' glory days. I love it. David Cutler says, TJ listens to Phil's Facts podcast over and over with his free earbuds from Ray-Ban, I think, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ponyboy Curtis says, gentlemen, how we doing? Good.
Great.
Brother number 3 went to the Mets game, met the Islanders players, got my bobblehead, and bailed at the end of the first. Oh, boy. I don't know. I would have stuck around for the game. State of survival. I mean, right? I mean, God, you're in there. What the heck? Why would you leave? Get yourself a hot dog. Don't you have to get a hot dog when you go to a baseball game? You just have to.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
You go to a movie. If you go to a movie theater, you have to get popcorn. I just think it's impossible not to. Even if you don't like popcorn, you have to get it. I mean, sorry. State of Survivor says Ishtar is the highest gross, just gross. Ishtar. You know about the movie Ishtar?
When did that come out?
Oh, back in the 80s, it was with Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman.
Okay.
And Isabella Johnny.
What genre does it fall under?
It was a comedy. They were like, it was not good. It was critically panned, not a great movie. Hoffman and Beatty played failed, they wanted to be a nightclub act, but they were terrible. And then the American government hires them to become pseudo spies in a country called Ishtar. And they hook up with Isabella Johnny, who they think is a boy until she takes her shirt off and she's not. And just like, it was not a great movie.
You're talking about that Ishtar right there, Grumpy?
Yep. And it's funny because they even had a song. It was so bad. You have to look up the Ishtar song. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it's freaking terrible. It's so bad that you have to listen to it.
You really quickly, I'll pull up the Ishtar song. You made a few mistakes when I was gone, Grumpy. You said Ray-Ban. Ray-Ban's a type of sunglasses. Raycon.
Sorry, Raycon. Sorry. See, if I would have got sent a pair of those earbuds, I'd probably know the name.
Hold on. So this is, you're looking for is it called the Ishtar song?
Just Ishtar song. Just see if it's like, it's so bad. They like playing the bongos. That they'll learn to play the accordion. It's like, holy crap, it's bad.
Oh my God, is this dangerous business? Hold on a second. Oh God, this.
Dangerous business. I think that's a song. Put it on.
Hold on a second.
What the heck?
What is it?
Yeah, man, with the bongos, right?
I think they're wonderful.
Telling the truth can be dangerous business.
Woo-hoo.
Honest and popular don't go hand in hand. If you admit that you can play the accordion,
Woo-woo.
one will hire you in a rock and roll band. But we can sing our hearts out all night. And if we're lucky, then no neighbors complain. Nobody knows where the beginning part starts out. But being human, we can live with the pain. Because life is the way we audition for God.
Are you done with
I think Grumpy's dancing literally just sold me.
Okay, here's the thing. That's like an endless loop in Lou Lamoriello's house. He listens to that song all day long. Running the Islanders is dangerous business when you have salary cap of 12 million left.
Who the hell is
find anybody because I'm a shitty GM and Fredo's living in the basement with his mom. Woo!
Oh my God, who is that? Who sung that? Who is that? Dustin Hoffman. I saw
Hoffman and Warren Beatty.
Yes, I got an actor's name right. I'm not gonna lie, I did have to look in the description in order to make sure. I was like Hoffman, like it's got to be Dustin. Yes, but yes,
yeah, man. I tell you what, it's so bad that it's good. Like, okay, man. Me and Son Number 2, anytime that Roadhouse is on, Roadhouse, guilty pleasure movie, like where, what the heck was the guy? What was Patrick Swayze's name? Gosh, I can't remember his name. We call him Roadhouse at this house. His name Roadhouse. He rips out the guy's throat.
Dustin is his name, right?
His name is not Dustin.
Dalton.
That's it.
What's up? Get the hell out of my damn space, Grumpy. Dalton. I knew more movie stuff than you did. Dalton. That's what I'm talking about.
Dalton. We call him Roadhouse. Matter of fact, TJ, you call him Roadhouse. Let me ask you a question, TJ.
Look at this shit. I get something right now. He's trying to motherfuck me right now. Look at this shit. This is what Grumpy does.
What's the name? First of all, get off your phone.
I'm not on my phone. My phone's not here. Wow. I just have my hand. It's not down here, Grumpy.
What's the name of the main character in Home Alone? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not Home Alone, which is what you call them all the time.
Are you talking about the actor's name or
no, the name of the character?
Kevin. Kevin!
What did you call him forever?
You're asking when I was a kid? What did I call him?
Oh, look, it's Home Alone.
He's trying to motherfuck me right now. Because I was a child. When I was a child, I said his name was Home Alone. Yeah, I know his name is Kevin. It's Macaulay Culkin. Get out of here, Grump. I get one thing right, and he tries to. He's got to try to retake his claim.
First of all,
he can't let me be right about one thing about pop culture. He's got to try to.
It's like Kevin. It's not Kevin. It's Kevin.
I can't even say the Kevin part right. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next comment.
Grumpy being extra grump tonight. That is true. That is true, Thomas Amadeo. Tommy B says, tell grumpy old man to blow out the candles on the birthday cake and join the party. Absolutely.
My birthday is coming up in a month or so.
That's right. It is coming up in a month or so. Yeah. Wade Flaherty says, TJ, did you see the trailer for the new Marvel movie, The Adventures of Fart Boy? No, I didn't. But that sounds like another superhero they're going to throw out there, a Fart Boy.
That was Howard Stern before he became Fart Man.
Freaking Howard Stern. I love it. Jake K says, Grumpy, he wants you to do this in the Emperor's voice. He wants you to read this. Go ahead. Hold on. Get yourself ready, Grumpy. You're going in the Emperor right now. You're trying to go ahead and take over. You're trying to take over the galaxy after you've been constructing the Death Star.
Okay, this is from Return of the Jedi. And he's sitting there, and Luke is there, and the Emperor and Darth Vader's by his side. He's like, I believe the Death Star is quite operational. And he's like, yes, I can feel the anger building inside of you. And then he's like, now strike down your father and take his place at my side. Yeah, man. Good stuff. That movie was great. Disney has absolutely ruined Star Wars. Ruined it.
How Grumpy, had they really?
Yes. Ruined
it. Yes.
Ruined it. I don't know. You know, I like that Luke had to learn how to become a Jedi, where they got the new girl. She comes in. She's stronger than somebody who's, been doing it for his whole life.
I spoke with somebody who was a big Star Wars fan at the time because it didn't make sense to me. And he was telling me the midichlorians, Grump, make some people more in touch with the Force than others. So it allows them to learn quicker. And that's why I guess the lady, I can't remember her name, allows it.
Like
Ray.
Ray.
Yeah.
I was about to call him Kylo Ren, but I'm like, I know that's
Okay.
No, Kylo Ren is the villain.
his driver, whatever.
Kylo Ren was a direct descendant of
Han Solo.
Princess Leia. Princess Leia was a Jedi. She was Luke's twin. And they were Darth Vader's children.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I kind of didn't watch those movies either.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Star. Wait.
You haven't seen Return of the Jedi?
I've seen 1 through 6, but I didn't know they're all related to the.
But they explained that in episode 6.
Hold on. No. What are you talking about? No, I know Luke and Leia were related. I thought you said Kylo Ren and Rey were related to Darth Vader.
No.
I can't turn you. Maybe I can turn sister.
No, I knew that.
Now Obi-Wan's failure is
complete.
I thought. Oh man!
He cuts his hand off. He's like, Luke, I am your father. He's like, no, search your feelings. You know it to be true.
The best Star Wars movie.
Impossible.
Episode 5, the best episode of Star Wars.
Yeah, well, Empire Strikes Back. I still like the first one. Now, here's the thing, Brandon.
You're not saying The Phantom Menace, are you? You're not saying The Phantom Menace, are you?
No.
Oh, you're saying New Hope. Okay.
The first movie made back in 1977. I saw that in movie theaters when it came out, and that was a huge. I can't even tell you. You could not get into that movie. I think we saw it. I want to say it had been released maybe for 2 months before we got a chance to see it. And we were like, holy crap, look at that. No one had ever seen anything like that before. It was incredible. And it was before CGI. There was no CGI in that movie.
Yeah. Nope. State of Survivor said, is Lee a top 6 player? Is Barzal a true number 1 center? No and yes.
No and maybe. You got to score more than 59 points. You got to score more than 60 points to be a true number 1 center. But like I said, in a different system, Matt Barzal, yes, absolutely number 1 center.
Most number 1 centers don't have Leo Komarov on their left wing for an entire season. Just talking about the plain truth of it. What do you think there, Brandon? Is Anders Lee a top 6 player? I don't think so. Is Matt Barzal true number 1? I do think he is.
For this team, Lee should not be in the top 6. For this team, he shouldn't be, because you have other players who need to grow. Do I think it's tricky with Barzal being a number 1 center. I think his equivalent right now is Robert Thomas. I just think their skill sets in terms of the overall production that they give, they're very equal. I don't know if that translates to first line center though. It could. If you gave Barzal line mates that Thomas had, like Buchnevich and Tarasenko, maybe you see a huge potential 90-point plateau for his career. Maybe. It's exactly what Grumpy said. Maybe.
Fair enough. Mario says, sorry. Those trades in Toronto were the brainchild of Pridham, not Lamoriello. A guy who has never demonstrated the ability to manage the cap all of a sudden makes moves like that. Get real. So it wasn't Lou Lamoriello. It was Pridham there working behind the guys of Lou Lamoriello. Perhaps. I guess that makes sense, right? Be dubious, be skeptical, perhaps. Christopher C says, Brandon, how would you set up the roster for a playoff run? Go.
Barzal, Beauvillier, Barzal, Palmieri, Bellows, Nelson, Wallstrom. For now, Lee, Pajot, Bailey, Parise, Cizikas, Clutterbuck. That's my forward healthy roster. Pairings, Pollock, Romanov, Dobson, Sal Mayfield. The healthy scratches, Matt Martin, probably Aho or Chalosky. We'll see. and probably Ross Johnston.
Mm.
With the starter being Sorokin and the backup being Varlamov.
He had that ready to go, Christopher C. He was ready for that one. He has it. He's got his lineups. He's got his lineups down pat. Thomas Amadeo says we open against the Panthers, the Ducks, the Sharks, and the Devils and the Lightning. There's a good chance we stay over 500 5 games into the season. You take the over or the under that will be over 500 5 games in.
I say we're at 500. You're going to lose. You're going to lose to Tampa and Florida. Those are the 2 losses, and I think that we're going to tie the Devils. How about that?
I don't know. I think the Sharks are yikes. The Ducks are yikes. I think the Devils start to take a step forward this year. I've said it before. I think the Devils could beat us.
Their goaltending is not very good.
Jonathan, baby, back. He's going to be the one that survives the hip injury. The one guy that survives the hip injury. Jonathan Bernier on the way back, Grump.
Don't get me wrong. I love New Jersey's defense. Siegenthaler, very underrated pickup that they got from Washington.
Yeah.
Severson, Graves, Hamilton. You got Luke Hughes and Kevin Ball coming in, licking at the chops.
Alexander Holt on the forward side too. They got a lot of pieces to be excited about.
I question the health though of players like Hughes and Heischer. I question the health of players like that. I'm not a fan, really. Also, New Jersey also added Marino to their defense as well. Ugh. But that's pretty good.
Who's the coach? Who's their coach?
Lindy Ruff.
Oh, I thought they let him go.
No, Andrew Burnett's their assistant coach, but Lindy Ruff is still the head coach.
What are you going for, Grumpy?
I think Andrew Burnett sucks.
A good assistant to have. Would you not disagree? He's a good assistant.
They're probably going to fire Ruff midway through the season if they don't get a hot start, and they'll probably promote Burnett from within.
I could imagine that if things don't work out. Yeah.
If the Devils are better than us, we're in real trouble.
I just think the Devils take a step forward this year. I've been saying that for the last few years. I do feel confident, though.
By default, they should take a step forward. They can't be any worse than this year.
Getting Hamilton back is going to be huge for them.
Huge plus. Another year of development for Heischer, another year of development for guys like Hughes. And you got the younger Hughes, too, who's probably going to be, if not, he'll be knocking on the doorstep, or maybe he'll be, in the organization in some capacity. I would imagine for the pick they selected with him, they'd want him to produce in some level at the NHL spot.
I think the Panthers took a big step back, and it's funny, right? Because you traded for Matt Tkachuk, but you lost Mackenzie Weegar on your defense.
He doesn't play any defense.
Better than Ekblad and Forsling, though.
No,
and the rest
they're better defensively than he is. He's a better offensive player, but defensively, he's not very good. I think Tkachuk is a massive upgrade for them. He's going to change the culture there. They're playing for a cup. He's going to change culture. They were a little soft. He brings that snarl and that sandpaper. I love Matt Tkachuk. I love that deal. Huberdeau, all right, he put up points, but you know what? In the big moments, he wasn't there. Matt Tkachuk's he's a big game player. I love Matt Tkachuk. I'd take him on this team in a second. TJ. 1 second, I'd take him on this team.
Thomas Amadeo says, I agree, Milano should be an Islander. We have a little more than $2 million in cap space. And Milano has a history of concussions. No thanks, I'll pass.
Maybe he was in on that Brett Favre deal too.
Oh, jeez. Maybe that's what he was doing all this time.
Yeah.
That's what he did all season. Brian J says that's why the Avalanche are champs and the Islanders are chumps. Talking about Rodriguez.
Okay.
Goon says the grumpy in the dark segment before scared me. I was concerned Freddy Krueger was going to appear and have his way with him.
Ouch.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
That was Johnny Depp's first movie.
I can't say I've ever seen that.
He got slashed out early in that.
Fair enough.
He was the main girl's boyfriend, I think.
State of Survival says, I think we're doing loyalty contracts regarding some players like Cizikas, Matt Martin, Clutterbuck. It might be the only way to get players to stay. Nobody wants to come to the island.
Okay. Why would you give loyalty contracts to guys who are finished? It's just so stupid. You know what? Then you don't need to be general manager. Believe me, you pay somebody enough money, they'll come. Build
Just
it,
gotta
he
make
will
sure it's the
come.
right guy.
Show him the money. Show me the money.
Thomas Amadeus says Jean-Gabriel Pajot at his best is worth the contract. It's hard to keep players on the island, and that's why you're seeing those long contracts.
He could have went to free agency. He's like, geez, I ain't getting that in free agency. I'm going to snap that one up. He wasn't going to get $5 million a year for 6 years. Absolutely not.
He was on a 30-goal pace, though. You don't think that's going to get you more than $5 million in the unrestricted free agent market, though?
Not coming from Ottawa. Not coming from Ottawa.
Well, no, because Melnick's cheap. Melnick, was a cheap owner.
I don't think he would have got $5 million per. And again, you should never overpay your own guys. You should say, okay, they know what his value is. You don't need to pay any extra. You didn't need to offer Anders Lee 7 years, 4 years.
Yeah, you didn't need to do that.
4 years, $5 million a year. If you don't want it, go somewhere else. That's fine. You have to draw a line in the sand. You have to be responsible for the whole organization, not just some guy. I'm just no.
Oh my goodness, Grump. Do you see who that is?
Yeah, that's Sal, who's wearing a Matt and the Jags shirt, just like Brandon.
We got 2 Giga Chads over here wearing Matty and the Jag shirts. Not only Brandon, but also Sal P. He's saying, "What's up, fellas? I was out for some drinks with some friends at a bar in Montclair, New Jersey, and we ran into Marty Brodeur. The place was pretty crowded, and nobody else knew who he was. My buddy Darren Zulo, he's on the show, Grumpy. He sometimes comments in. Told him we were Islander fans and we hated him. Darren also said, I also told him that I felt like he is the GOAT.
Yes, he was fantastic and seems like a really nice guy too.
I like him in his commercials. Freedom Fun Adventure says, TJ, is the warden your biological mother or stepmother? I ask because Grumpy has made it very clear that you don't commit to anybody over 30. Yes, the warden is my biological mother. She must.
Yeah, she was signed to
over the age of 30.
She was signed to a long-term deal. I've more than got my money out of that contract signing. I signed her long-term at a young age, so I've been reaping the benefits ever since.
Oh, good gracious. Thomas Amadeo says, Lee making $7 million a year is a disgrace. You're new team captain, new coach, new captain. Shake it up.
That's the first thing I do. Lane Lambert, we're having a new captain, Anders Lee. I talked to him. Hey, this is Matt Barzal's team. I want you to give up the captaincy. Are you cool with that? And, if he goes, I want to be the captain. No, you're gone. Sorry. Barzal needs to be the captain of this team. Move forward.
Grumpy, what do you do? What is that when you shake it up, Grumpy? Who is that person who sings a song about shaking it up?
Taylor Swifty.
Taylor Swifty. I know Grumpy loves the Shake It Off song, Grumpy.
Shake it off.
Grumpy, we'll shake it over there. I love it too.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
He says, Grumpy old man, stop drafting Reuters.
Why? Everybody's got them.
Mark A said Sorokin will lead the Islanders to a division title.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
I'm not sure this year, but maybe 1 year. Frank says, no, he won't. Clueless Lou. Go change your diaper and take your meds. The adults are talking. Oh, I love it. I love it. My Little Brownie says here, Grumpy, it's great to hear that you've finally come around on Zach Parise from when he first joined the team. Which line can you see him on in the new regime?
Fourth line.
Oh, come on. I like him as a third line guy.
Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed.
He's an energy guy. Why not play him on the fourth line?
So you're going to put Anders Lee on the fourth in that case, if you're giving Bellows more ice time?
Is that your identity? A slug on the fourth line?
Man, can Anders Lee just disappear?
He could go to Robida Island.
He will. He will probably when Lou's replacement arrives.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's next year or the year after that his contract becomes the no trade 2 years from now. Okay.
2 years from now, yeah. So it's this year, and then the following year it becomes modified and more buyout friendly.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I think if Lee's used in honestly, I'd be fine with Lee on the third line. If that means that for sure Lee's on the third line and playing in a more niche role to where he could. And here's the thing. I think with less ice time, you might see a little bit more energy exerted from a guy like Anders Lee, which would make me happier in return. That's a guy who used to be a high energy. I fight for every inch on the ice. He hasn't done that in years, though. I want to see a little bit of a What do you have that look of disgust for, Grumpy?
Because he sucks. I mean, here's the thing. He put out that effort a week before the deadline to a week or two after.
No.
He showed effort going up and down the ice, coming back, playing defensively. It was noticeable because he's been so invisible in that respect all year. All of a sudden, a week before the deadline, he's busting his ass out there because he didn't want any of his little cul-de-sac pals getting dealt off. And all of a sudden, whoop, trade deadline, nothing happens, goes back to being a slug.
I think if you give Lee a reduced role, he could still score at the same clip that he did this year because he wouldn't have the tougher matchups. I mean, Brandon Saad's a big example of this. He played on the third line with the St. Louis Blues. He didn't play like with Robert Thomas. He didn't play with Ryan O'Reilly or Braden Shen. He got a sheltered role with Barbashev and Kyrou. And he had 24 goals this year. That's his usual 82 game pace, but he was able to obtain it because he had a reduced role. I feel like if you gave Lee that reduced role, he can replicate that.
Yeah, he's not going to be playing with somebody like Kyrou, though.
True. Good. Yeah, Kyrou, I think he'll live up to that deal.
But I agree. I agree with you that he can stand in front of the net with the best of them. That's where he's best.
Yep.
Standing in front of the net.
Yeah. Coach Tommy B said, I've been telling you since that Taves trade caused a riff. Lou wanted to keep Taves over Letty. Trotz went public to keep Letty. Boxed Lou in. Here's the thing. I pontificated on that day of the firing.
Right. We've talked about that ad nauseum.
Yep.
But what does it say about Lamoriello? He should have said to Trotz, hey, bro, this is the way it goes here. I pick the players. You coach the players. You don't tell me who we're gonna keep.
You want to have a healthy relationship. We've talked about that. You want to have a healthy relationship between head coach and general manager, though.
I'm saying, guess what? I'm going to keep the guy who's 24 years old, who makes peanuts, as opposed to a guy who's certainly on the downside of his career, regardless if you think he played, better than any other Islander in a country mile. He's not been the same player he was in 2016. We're going to move Letty and keep Taves. Get over it. Make it happen.
Tariq S. says here, don't forget how Trotz treated Golashev after Lou recalled him from Bridgeport. Yep, absolutely. A poor mismanagement there of that individual. State of Survival said, I think the way Trotz dealt with Golashev was the last straw for Lou. I'm sure that Lou said, you're going to play, and Trotz said, no, you aren't.
That's part of the gutless media, though, not doing a follow-up question, right? When Lou came out with that idiotic statement, when Trotz came out with that idiotic statement, when he said, I think Gross asked him, well, how come Golashev didn't play? And he's like, well, he needs to prove it at the NHL level. The follow-up is, dude, he plays for your team. He's only going to be at the NHL level with you. Why are you not giving him a shot? You're the only.
Why is he not playing over Andy Andreoff? You had half an AHL roster. You couldn't have some spot open for Golashev. Please get a game. Just one game.
Right. Nothing. And then you lose the kid. It's like, screw it. I'm gone.
Manny Mass says, yo, fellas, listen to my proposed schedule. They can play all non-divisional games, only home and away equal the divisional games. Honestly, for me, playing Buffalo is not any different than playing Calgary. Thoughts?
I don't even know what that means.
I'm kind of confused too, Manny.
Maybe he's talking from like a regional perspective, but no, I don't get that.
Manny Mass, I was confused. I hope maybe somebody else of the Brain Trust would understand. I apologize. I don't understand. Shoot us another message and maybe we'll see what that means. Max Power says here, shit, that would be hilarious seeing Grumpy sporting the Alabama waterfall. Business in the front, party in the back. Laughing my ass off. Talking about your little mullet, Grumpy.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, it was long too. Go back.
State of Survival says here, as Aho's last fan, he will surprise this year.
Good I hope for you, so. State of Survival.
I hope so. I'm Otto Koiv's last standing fan. So, Jay Clark says, what trade value does Brock Nelson have? I think Brock Nelson has value for certain. After the year he had last year, I think he's very valuable. He's one of the best number 2 centers in all of hockey.
First and a second. I think he's worth at least a first and a second.
I'd agree. Frank says, F electric cars, TJ. Oh, Frank. Hey, man, I'm not saying go buy one. I'm just saying, hey, if someone's giving me one for free, hell yeah, I'm driving it. Grumpy, I don't even think you drive it if you had it.
Unless it's a big paperweight in your driveway to keep the cement down. I mean, what the hell else you need it for?
You worried about cement flying away on your house, Grumpy?
Like I'm saying, it's useless. That's all.
Oh, if they give it to you for free, it'd be useless for you. Get the hell.
You
never leave the house. You never leave the house. How's it useless for you? Come on.
Have you ever listened to how those cars sound? Like,
now all of a sudden you give a shit about how the car sounds.
There was a guy driven a Prius. I'm like, dude, why can't you get a man mobile?
Who gives a shit what type of car they drive?
That's what it's like.
I drive a little small compact car. I used to, at least.
Does your car go like this? Is that how it goes? You hold like this?
The backup goes. Yeah, it does. It's one of those gas efficient cars. What's wrong with that?
This one doesn't run on gas.
It fuels.
It's got a bunch of ducks under the hood.
Is that what it's powered by? Not Fred Flintstone, like it's powered by ducks.
One more time back into the Wayback Machine, because the Little Rascals, way back in the day, 1930s, right? You used to watch them on Channel 11.
They got little. What's the guy with the little alfalfa? It was like,
Alfalfa and Spanky, and Buckwheat and Stymie, and Butch was always the bad guy, and Darla. Everybody loved Darla. And I remember one time they were having a boat race, and there was some kid like Fauntleroy. I don't know. He had a lot of money, and he had a boat with a motor on it. Little ding, 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 ding.
Fauntleroy sounds like one of those rich names. Fauntleroy.
Yeah, that's right. Little Lord Fauntleroy. And they had a race, and whoever would win the race, Darla would go with the guy.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Fauntleroy had like a boat, like a cruiser, right? With the little motor on the back, with the steering wheel and the little bell, ding, ding, ding. And he wore like a little captain's hat. And you saw Spanky and Alfalfa had some rickety thing they put together, built it out in the backyard somewhere with some ducks who were just flapping their things, making it go. It was hilarious.
And that's what you're comparing to. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Frank also says Islanders need a new GM ASAP.
True.
True.
Bob, son of Stan, says the Knicks, but basically hate basketball. He's a fan of the Knicks, though. Oof.
I can't tell you my opinion on basketball because we talk about it on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man Show on Thursdays and Sundays.
There it is. Jay Clark says, what do you think of Paul Maurice as a possible head coach for the Islanders? Would he want to come to the Islanders? From my understanding, he's the
head coach of Florida right now.
He's another guy that doesn't like to play the young guys. Sometimes in the past, he's shackled some of the young players' growth. And then Freedom Fun Adventure says, Grump, I read the post article on Salo, Aho, etc. Lambert praised Salo. No idea how TJ got Shawalski's in the driver's seat, but seriously, sue the private school or whatever college he attended. I read the tweets. I read what it said. What can I say? Freedom.
See, here's the thing. You're too busy reading tweets when Freedom Fun Adventure is reading the full article. See, you have how many little characters can you have in a tweet?
I think like 160.
That's why.
Yeah, around 160. Yeah.
An article, man, you could write a whole lot of words. You're just not limited by characters.
Jay Clark says, I hope Malkin does not give Lamoriello an extension.
I don't think he is. I think this is it for Lamoriello's this year.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back after this year.
Frank
do or die for him.
Grumpy old man needs to be on Dancing with the Stars. Give us some of those moves there.
I'll tell you what, I could do good on the show because the guys don't do anything on those shows. It's all the girls. The girls do everything on those shows. They can make even a clown like me look good. I just stand there, and they just be doing spins and twirls and every other. I just got to catch them every once in a while, not drop them on their head. That'd be good enough. I feel bad for the girls who are on that show because they have to really learn how to dance. Where the guys, they can just kind of get by because the girls are flashier, they're good looking, and that's what sells.
Oh, there it is. There it is, Crump.
Lou Lamoriello would try to vote me off, though. I guarantee you that.
Lou Lamoriello.
I know that's a show he watches. I'm sure that's a show he watches religiously.
How many times do you think he votes? Is it like one of those things with American Idol where you just spam it and vote a whole bunch of it?
What's the phone with the really big numbers on it?
Jitterbug.
That's what you use. No.
That's what you use.
Does he even know how to use it?
He just hits the same button.
Yeah.
It's like the one that's got the faces on it. That's why when other people, that's why he doesn't call other general managers. He like hits one where you could see Fredo, his kid. He hits one where you can see Malk, and he just goes, little faces on it where he says, okay, let me go ahead and hit 1. Grumpy, what are you on his number? Are you, because I know Lou from the landline calls in. Are you like number 1 on his priority list or number 9?
I'm number 9.
Okay. Well, hey, you're still on the list. That's the big thing.
With the slash through it, never hit this button.
So sometimes when he calls in on the landline,
It's accidentally, he forgets.
Mario says, I hope that one day we all get to see the long cut of the Phantom Menace. There are rumors that originally it was over 4 hours long. It's because of Darth Jar Jar, and they cut that out, Grump. That's what it is. Jar Jar was the Sith above Palpatine. That's all.
I hated Jar Jar Binks.
We all hated Jar Jar.
Tommy B says here, I heard Lou is going to sign Jar Jar Binks as the new mascot and fire Sparky. I'd like that. Pony McCurdy says, TJ, thanks for having my back the other day. Laugh my ass off, telling Grump that yours truly made Lou Muerta. I didn't forget. I don't forget certain things.
I didn't remember who did. I know it wasn't us, even though I take credit. It was not. I know it wasn't us. I didn't know it was you, Pony Boy. Maybe that's when he wasn't Pony Boy. Maybe it was another name.
Yeah, I don't even remember his names prior. Grump, we need some Sinatra. Says,
"Luck be a lady tonight."
There it is. That's all you got. Little quip there. That's it.
Because then they had
Fair enough.
The guy that you came in with. Hey, look, be a lady tonight.
There's Frank K says, "Shake It Up" is by the Cars. A great song. Joel said, "Hey TJ and Grumpy, I know you were hopeful, but I was up 45 points. You had no chance of coming back, but good game though." Grumpy took the first out. I lost by 1 point in our fantasy league. God almighty. Oh. Anyway, Pony McCurdy says,
lost in the money league. I lost in the money league because Elijah Mitchell got hurt in the first. So every year I draft the San Francisco running back. Every year they get hurt in game 1. Every year. You think I'd learn?
You think you would learn. And Pony McCurdy says, boys, I got to hand it to you. 7 hours of Islanders content a week in the offseason out of literally nothing. When literally nothing has occurred at all in any capacity, you guys have done the impossible. Thank you, Pony Boy.
Hey, TJ, are you scratching? Are you trying to comb your head there? Or what are you doing with that picture? Looks like you're trying to comb your skull. What's about that?
I don't know. It's a screen grab that Pony Boy got of me. I couldn't tell you. It's a very endearing picture, I'm sure, as you could tell of me. That right there should be on GQ magazine, Grump.
I mean, you got big hands and you still cannot cover your full skull.
Yeah, I know. Shit, it just tells you how big my head is. Frank also saying, Grumpy Old Man, you planted the seed in my head, being a Jets fan, that when they made the great Joe Namath captain, it rose his game. So maybe you're on to something with making Barzal captain.
Can't be any worse than it is now.
Oh, man, absolutely, absolutely. And Frank also says, hi, Pony. Yep, you're right. These guys make Picasso out of shit. Well, thank you, Frank, as well. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. And Pony Picardo says, boys, what are the chances / percentages you think of Andersley getting stripped of the captaincy for Matt Barzal, or Matt Barzal getting a C or an A?
0. He's not going to get stripped. I wish he would. It's not going to happen. And I don't think we're going to see Barzal get an A also. Not until he signs a contract extension, then maybe. How about you, Brandon? What do you think?
You have to lock Barzal up before you even give him an A or C. You have to lock him up. That should be your priority number 1. Lock him up long term, then talk captaincy, or use that as a negotiating tactic. Go, hey, we sign you long term. We view you as the face of the franchise. We'll give you whatever leadership qualities you feel like present. We'll give you the C because we feel you represent that.
There you go.
Look how easy that is, Grumpy. We've got it. We've got it.
Let me tell you something. Just takes a couple of hours just talking to one another. We can fix all the Islanders' problems.
That's that simple, Grumpy. It's that simple. And Matthew
wasn't simple for Trotz. Wasn't simple for Trotz, though.
No.
Obviously, I'm being facetious. It's that simple. We could just play armchair general manager / coach. Matthew S. says, so much hate for Andersley. Shaking my damn head. Lee will surprise you this coming year. I hope he does. That make me a happy man.
What would it take to make Anders Lee surprise you, Brandon?
Nothing. I think he'll just be the same guy. He'll score in bunches. He'll park in front of the net. You probably don't want to play him defensively at all. He's just going to be the same guy. You hope he can maintain the same pace, though, being the 28 to 32 goal guy for at least 2 more years before buying him out. But I don't think it's going to be a surprise.
For me,
expect
it would be a surprise if he scored 40 goals this year. I'd consider that a surprise. I could see him getting 30 maybe. But for me to be surprised, 40. I mean, it's all he does. I mean, and it's a good skill to have, tipping, knocking pucks in, absolutely. But that would be the only thing that would surprise me if he had 40 goals. He's not going to surprise me on the defensive end. No. And certainly not as a creator or skater. No. How about you, TJ?
If Anders Lee, let's say, if he scored, here's the thing. If he scores 28 goals, right, again, or even if he breaks the 30 plateau and has 20 assists, if he's a guy that's around 50 points or has 50 points, I'd be happy with production from Anders Lee.
The thing was surprise.
Surprise. Over 50 points would surprise me from Anders Lee at this point in his career.
Okay.
Like, I just think...
I think the 40 goal is the bigger surprise. It's not just because of his age. It's hard to score 40 goals in this league.
Yep.
Last year was 46. I think over 55 points would surprise me from Anders Lee. I don't think he'll ever pass that plateau again. He'll never have over 55 points again in his career.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong. And got here, Pony Curtis saying here, does the coach's salary dip into the salary cap? No, it does not, Pony Curtis. You can pay him as much as you want. Isles Girl 3, what's up, Kim? I got to reach out to Kim, too.
Hey, Kim.
She says, killing it, Brandon. And Frank says, TJ is alfalfa. I don't know if that's a compliment or a diss.
It's not.
It's a diss. 100% diss.
Oh, shit. I thought he was the main character. Okay, fair enough. Pony Curtis says, boys, is the Warden an Islander fan? What's her favorite sports team?
Okay, the Warden hates sports. She only likes sports when her sons were playing them. That was it. I mean, even now she'll torture me. Sometimes she says things when I'm watching a sporting event, and usually she won't even be in the same room that I'm in, but she'll sit over there in her little chair. It's right over there. And she'll make, if my team's not doing well, she'll make some little smart alecky comment that make me want to go over there, take a frying pan, bring her one. But, I don't. But I'm like, don't poke the bear. Just don't do it.
Oh, man.
But she hates sports. She knows who Josh Bailey is.
Bailey. Pony Bird says, boys, what do you think? Denver Broncos embarrassing themselves on national television the other day against Seattle. Well, trust me, we'll talk about that either if we're doing one tomorrow or we'll talk about it.
You had 3 timeouts left. Why are you kicking a field goal at that point?
Daniel needs to be fired. I'm already day one fired.
It's his name is Hackett.
Yeah, Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah.
Nathaniel.
He did come clean and say that if he would have done it all over again, he wouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Like I say, players win games, coaches lose them. I say that often.
An example of a guy who's
right there.
Being a game manager. He can't manage a game as a head coach.
And he cost me in the money league by not throwing to Cortland Sutton enough.
Ponyberg Curtis said, who won that Russell Wilson? I lost in the league because freaking McManus missed a kick. I lost by 1 point because he missed that kick. But who won that Russell Wilson trade? I think Denver does. And
Russell Wilson won that trade because of the amount of money that he got afterwards.
I don't think Russell Wilson looked that good.
No. I'm saying in terms of the money, though.
Oh yeah, no. I agree with you there. I'm just saying, just his talent level. I wonder how he's going to age. I don't think well. His emotion almost looks different than it used to be. I don't know.
He's taken a hell of a beating though during his Seahawks tenure though.
Yeah, well then you don't. Like I said, I'm just like
that offense. He never had a good offensive line ever in his entire Seattle tenure ever. It was never fixed.
I was just looking at his throwing. I was not impressed by the way he was throwing the ball in Monday's game. And I don't watch a whole lot of his games. Certainly not the last couple of years when Seattle was bad, but it just doesn't seem like his arm is what it used to be.
Thomas Amadeo says, as the show goes on, Grumpy becomes less grumpy. Absolutely. And where do you get those threads, boys? Islanders Never Say Die merchandise store. You could find it in the link in the description below. Actually, I'll pull it up on screen so you can see it. But Isles Girl also says, why are we talking about head coaches when we haven't even given Lane a chance yet? I don't know why. Good question.
Kim, I'm going to tell you why, Kim, because we've been talking all summer when the Islanders have done absolutely nothing. So we're going into some, like Star Wars or like Star Trek, right? To boldly go where no one has gone before.
We're going into the multiverse.
Oh man, the multiverse.
Jesus.
About the multiverse,
dude, that stuff, honestly, I couldn't sit through a movie. I'd fall asleep watching that shit.
I hate the multiverse because they ran out of things to write. So they invited alternate universes where the same characters exist. I hate it.
Are you saying that's why we're talking about new head coaches because we've run out of things to talk about?
Yeah, so we're into the multiverse.
Yeah,
we're into the multiverse. We go, Grumpy.
I always wonder, why is Kim blind? Has she been blinded since the last time we've seen her?
What? Because you don't see the eyes in her
picture.
Her picture is always like that. I like her logo. I like Kim's logo, Grumpy.
I didn't say I didn't like the logo. I just said, is she blind? I mean, last time we saw her, she had eyes.
Her eyes are still in. I can confirm, or
Okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny. I haven't seen Kim today. Maybe she lost her eyes in a catastrophic accident, Grump.
Oh,
I don't know.
I wouldn't even
say
she's
got her eyes. She's probably got her eyes. I'm going to say safely, she's got her eyes, Grump.
Okay.
Oh shit! You know what I just noticed?
No.
I've been posting this up. I don't actually think I've been including our link for the purchase of the Islanders Never Say Die Etsy store. Holy shit, guys!
What a catastrophic failure on your part.
This is a if true, right? This is a catastrophic blunder because buddy, I maybe have screwed the pooch on that one. I've been saying it's in the link in the description below for I don't know how many episodes, and it is definitely not.
Maybe you should put it. Maybe you should do that.
Okay, now, yeah, I do see. It was probably been like the last handful of episodes. My mistake, guys. That's why everybody's like, where do we find this? I say link in the description below, but as Grumpy sees, there is no link. Here it is. I'll make sure I zoom out a little bit. I'll make sure I go back to linking this in again. This is where you can find on it the Etsy store, Islanders Never Say Die. You're able to see it. All of the shirts there. There it is. Perfect, Grump. Thomas Amadeo says, love and laughter to all who watch and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Absolutely. Puddin' Curtis says here, his center of gravity in his chin is so massive, it makes the rest of his face droop down. It's just really science, Grump.
Yeah.
That's why he's got that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
And Grump, do the jaw thing real quick. Let me stop sharing that. I'll let you do. There it is. There it is. And who looks worse right now, the Jets or the Giants? Jets, right?
Jets, easily the Jets.
Yeah.
The Giants won their freaking game. What did the Jets do?
They look terrible.
Grump,
Here's the thing: they put all their eggs in the fat boy basket, and he ate that shit up at training camp.
Oh, stop. Bob, son of Stan, said, Grumpy Little Man, checking on Lee's goal scoring because I doubted what you were saying about but the goals were in January. He had 2 goals, February 3, March 11, and April 3. Looks like you were right about the pickup of his game when the trade deadline approached. Absolutely.
It was noticeable.
And the assist numbers are way up over that time period too.
Normally, I wouldn't even think about it, but it was so noticeable that, oh man, here Lee scoring again. He hadn't done anything. He scored again. Look at him. Look at him coming back and playing defense. That was the biggest takeaway. Look at him hustling back. I mean, it was very noticeable.
Absolutely here. And hey, Grumpy, a lady doesn't go around blowing on another guy's dice.
That's right. Love to be a lady night.
Oh, D-Cut was saying, Grumpy. I'll let you read that.
Nobody came up with more show sayings than D-Cut.
That is true, D-Cut. I will definitely say that. That is definitely true.
College Quinn, who I believe just got another job, did he not? College Quinn get another job? Yeah.
Unbelievably so. He did get another job.
The Three Amigos, which is Kaliev, McMichael, and Tomasino. And the fire hydrant. TJ, show us the fire hydrant. There you go. The fire hydrant tube there. TJ never gives me the proper credit. Yeah, you do notice that, D-Cut. You know why? Unfortunately, he's a lot like Lou Lamoriello, who hates us. TJ doesn't like Isles Rated R. Isles Misery Rated R.
Yeah,
he hates you guys. I don't know why, but he does.
Yeah, I call up Grumpy all the time about how much I hate those people.
He hangs around with those his little sycophant shill buddies like Phil.
Yeah, actually, we were talking about Andrews Lee, first ballot Hall of Famer. That was a serious discussion. How can we make sure he's first ballot? Ponybury says here, boys, I really think we should have swung at Evander Kane before Edmonton re-signed him. He would have been a great fit or a good fit for Barzal. I know all of his off the ice stuff, but he's supremely talented.
They were never going to roll the dice on him. Never.
Yep, unfortunately, never would.
They roll in, though. They roll in.
I cannot wait for the 60 for 60 on Evander Kane. I cannot wait for that because you talk about off the ice and on the ice, so many ups and downs throughout his career. I would really like to see a well-documented, well-produced documentary on something like that. Make me so happy. My Little Brownie says, how many watch in-person games are on your calendars for 2022-2023 season? I don't know, Grumpy. That's a good question. Not as many, I'm sure, as last year. I don't know. What I assume we'll do is we'll do the games that are on like Saturdays. But I don't know, my Little Brownie. We'll have to get back to you. Grump and I really haven't talked about that. We're not going to do it to where we're doing like if there's 3 out of every 4 games like it was last year. I can't do that commitment wise. So we'll do something, but I'm not sure how much. Ponyboy Curtis says, who would win in a fight, prime Ross Johnston or prime Matt Martin?
Ross Johnston would kill Matt Martin.
I like that, but people are going to say probably Matty Martz just because of the history.
No way.
I think Ross Johnston. Yeah, I got Ross Johnston.
He'd be a little stain on the ice when Johnson got finished with him.
Oh man, Jesus. Ponyboy Curtis says, I'd really like to see Johnson get a regular role over Martin.
I'm going to tell you what. Barry Trotz ruined Ross Johnston. Ruined him. They took away his aggression. They took away everything that made Ross Johnston. And I'm not saying he's a great hockey player, but when he was out there, he was noticeable. He was hitting everything that moved. He made a difference. And we don't want you taking penalties, Ross.
Drew L says, if Anders Lee scores 33 goals, I'll be shocked. Maybe he should learn how to fight since he's 6'3", 240 pounds. He'd be an enforcer if he just took some boxing lessons.
Maybe he could take on Le'Veon Bell.
Dude, I honestly, I haven't had the guts to watch that video because I like Adrian Peterson too much to see his ass get knocked out.
Just look at the short one. He does one of those knee buckle jobs.
I don't want to watch it because it's just like
the eyes go up to the top of the head.
Honest, I don't want to watch it. I feel so bad watching because I'm like, that guy's just, I don't know, peak performance for a football player, and just to see him on his ass like that getting knocked out just makes me feel sad. I have not watched it, and I'll try not to watch it. I don't know.
I sent you a link.
I know you sent me a link. I haven't watched it. Isles girl Kim says, no, I'm not blind. And she says, blinded by the light, perhaps, and revved up like a deuce. Another runner in the night. Absolutely. Matthew S. said, Kim, love ya, but the Boosters Club jinxed my baseball team tonight. Oh, talking about the Islanders Club there.
I was gonna make a joke saying that she probably lost her eyes permanently because she actually saw Josh Bailey throw the ball at the mound.
Oh,
that's right. No, because she actually went to that game apparently.
Oh, right. There it is.
Yeah.
And House Girl says, Kim saying, just to piss Grumpy off, I'm optimistic going into the season as usual because, hey, this is still a team I've seen go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe these boys like Wallstrom and Bellows can surprise. I like it. I love it.
Kim. Here's the thing. I can never be mean to Kim, ever. I just can't.
We love Kim. You know that. Yeah. Drew L says, Wallstrom, 30-plus goals. Bellows, 50-plus points. Ooh. Eat third, Grumpy. Jesus, man.
I'm ecstatic over that. That goes right into my narrative.
If something like that were to happen, Grumpy just have that shit-eating grin on his face.
Absolutely.
Frank saying, knowing lyrics are not wrapped up like a Bailey, revved up like a deuce. Oh, good gracious. And Drew L says, Lou just signed Rob Schremp. Robbie Shrimp. I love Rob Shrimp. We've had him on the show before. Rob Shrimp is a nice guy. And Franz Nielsen, back to PTO is the only chance we have at winning overtime shootouts. Dude, I loved Rob Shrimp on the shootouts. That's for certain. Oh, man. Oh, man. And Kim, they're saying you could say the Islanders jinxed the Mets tonight, but they lost they lost the last two to the Cubs before this too. Yeah, I'll tell you, the Mets. Yikes! I'm worrying a bit. But
hey, at least the Braves are losing. Yeah, they lost 4 out of the last 5. That helps.
Matt Olson is cold as hell. He's cold as ice.
Yep.
He's not willing to sacrifice.
Frank saying he missed Franz Nielsen. I think he was a fan favorite, Franz Nielsen, especially with the shootout, that same shootout shot that just worked over and over and over again. But guys, we are here at the end of the show this evening. What do you want to say before we wrap things up?
Here's what I'm going to say. Brandon, I want you to talk about whatever
the podcast you do. I know you say, hey, we are doing it every 3 weeks, but I want to hear about the podcast. Tell us about it, where we can find it.
You can find it at Never Say Die podcast on YouTube. You can find it. I don't know the hashtag that DJ has. At Isles Fans NYI. You can always find their material for Islanders material. Thursday, you can find it when they talk about sports in general, football, baseball.
We're talking about
me. It's all about me.
Yeah, your stuff. Your stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, like. Well, oh my goodness! I thought you were talking about TJ's material. Well, you can find me. You can find me at BGainsDM on Twitter. I talk about whether it's Giants, Mets, Islanders, Knicks, pop culture, music, you name it. I'll talk about anything possible. You could also find on Spotify our 3 episodes so far at the AFIP podcast at myself, Kim's brother Mike Moisa, Eric Vogel, and John Dombrowski. We talk mostly Islander stuff. We'll also talk about other, teams around the league. We're going to actually record an episode next week. I'll post a link on that when that comes out as well. I don't want to say the actual name of the show because I don't want. Oh, is that it? No, that's not the. No, that's not the logo. That's not the logo. You should be able to find it. It's got UBS Arena. It's got the Kool-Aid Man on there. Mike did a great job with the artwork. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, no, like seriously, like this has been. Oh, there you go. There it is. Oh, I love the design. I absolutely love it.
Another effing Islanders podcast.
It's got the Kool-Aid Man right on the stick. I love it. I love the design.
You can find them on Spotify, ladies and gents. Another Islanders podcast.
Yeah. So listen, it was an honor to be on the show. This was 5 years in the making. I had a great time. I had a damn good time.
Absolutely. I had a great time too. And again, always
I didn't have such a good time.
Yeah, your internet went out.
My power went out. I mean, it's been a long night.
Oh man. But Grumpy, what do you always say before we wrap things
I
up?
want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, even even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man, and Brandon Gaines.
Absolutely. Oh, I forgot to say, that's right. Hit the thumbs up, guys. We're only 3 hours and 30 minutes in, but hit the thumbs up. Apparently it helps the algorithm and stuff like that. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. But guys, thank you so much for listening to the show, ladies and gents. We appreciate your participation and you guys listening as always. Man, season's coming close. I'm excited. I know you're excited. Preseason right on the way, Grump and Brandon. I'm excited. Thank you so much again, Brandon, for coming on to the show. Thank you again for your time as always, Grumpy Old Man. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you guys next Wednesday because there's no show on Saturday. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, Brandon and Grumpy.
My pleasure.